All right, I think we're back on now.
Yeah, let us know how we sound, whether you can hear us or not. Because, yeah, our internet.
Yeah, I don't understand what's going on with these internet problems, but we've had internet problems for this is the second time within what? That was a week ago.
About a week ago.
Because it was on a Tuesday too, I believe. I believe it was on a Tuesday.
Yeah, it was on a Tuesday, so it was last week. The
Last
internet just like cut out.
Okay.
We had about 5 minutes left on the show, and it just like
Right. This time, at least, we caught it, and well, it looks like it's like I said, it came back somewhat promptly.
yeah. Last time it was about 40 minutes.
Yeah, it looks like it started a whole new stream though, which is very whack. I hate that fact, but I guess it was out for. I don't know how much, how long it gives you to resume the stream, but whatever. Anyway, we're gonna keep going. Like I said, we were talking about this effort to propel Elizabeth Warren forward, to keep Joe Biden up there as well as a two-person race. We were talking about that Chris Eliza article.
These are your two candidates.
These are
who you should pay attention to.
Yes. Now, we want to turn our attention to an interview as well. Well, maybe not really an interview, but a segment that we saw on MSNBC. So this was hosted by Craig Melvin. And on his panel, he had Emily Tish Sussman, and he also had Chris Wilson. Chris Wilson is a GOP pollster who worked on Ted Cruz's presidential campaign in 2016. And so much of their conversation surrounded Elizabeth Warren and just, what her campaign has been and how she's surging and what these new numbers in Iowa, what they reveal, what they tell, what story we're telling, and how she's going to use this to, go forward, and is she the candidate to beat now? Things like that.
Comparing her to Bernie and whatnot, just regular political commentary.
It wasn't until the end of this conversation they were having until Bernie Sanders came up. And it was Craig Melvin that brought him up.
Hometown Craig Melvin. He ain't our guy, but he's from around
these woods, these parts.
Yeah.
But yeah, he because Bernie Sanders, his numbers have decreased in Iowa per this one poll, because those numbers have decreased. He's wondering, what's going on with Bernie Sanders. Is this the end? Just what's going on. And so that prompts these two panelists to respond. And so we have a clip of what they said. And so we're going to play it now and then come back and discuss this.
Has Bernie Sanders, has he peaked?
It does feel that way. It feels like Warren is pulling together a coalition of people, particularly women, and also people of color who liked Hillary Clinton. I think in all of our talking, like our talking head, we act like there's nobody who actually liked her. There are, in fact, people that liked her. And so she is in many ways pulling a lot of that support, but also pulling a lot from Sanders. And Sanders is still in the race. What we're seeing of his supporters is there's a ceiling. There is nowhere to go, but there is no up to go. And all of those support, I actually overheard someone saying that I thought was an interesting point, that basically at this point, if you are still supporting Sanders as opposed to Warren, it's kind of showing your sexism, because she has more detailed plans and her plans have evolved. I thought it was an interesting point, and I think there may be something to it.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
It's a good answer, Chris.
Yeah, it is. It makes me say. But I'll tell you, the one thing is you can only be an insurgent once. And Sanders is trying to be an insurgent twice. And the whole shtick of yelling a lot and cussing a lot. I mean, O'Rourke's kind of got the cussing lane now. He's still got the angry lane, the angry old grandpa lane. But let's face it, there's only so much time at Thanksgiving you want to spend around that angry relative that keeps yelling at you. And I think that his time may have come and gone.
What?
It's funny, they laughed when Sussman made that point about it being sexist.
What are we watching?
This is MSNBC.
Okay. But what are we watching? I know that's the network, but is this supposed to be a legit attempt to offer political analysis?
Of course, this is MSNBC.
Are you sure? Is this like MSNBC like parody channel?
Nope.
Is this like a pilot show? Is this a show that comes like on like at 3 or 4 a.m., like a test show or something?
Nah, man, this is a daytime show, I believe. Daytime show.
You sure about this?
Craig Melvin and the gang. Yeah, I believe it's a daytime show.
They sound like a bunch of. Honestly, they sound like a bunch of teenagers, actually.
Yeah. And it wasn't just Emily Tish Sussman that had a negative critique about Bernie Sanders. It was also Chris Wilson saying that you can only be an insurgent once. And Bernie Sanders, look,
why would you
his critique is the most, well, I don't know if it's the most ridiculous, but it's so easily ridiculous because you know, there's only so much yelling you can take, and you don't want that at the family dinner table. Did he say Thanksgiving or something like that? Did he say at the
holidays? I think he used the word holidays.
Are people taking Bernie Sanders home with them? As president of the United States, if Bernie Sanders is the president of the United States, are you taking Bernie Sanders home with you? Do you care? Does it really matter how Bernie Sanders, like what his
temperament?
Not temperament, really, but really. The only times that I really see Bernie Sanders really animated are on debate stages. When you see him in interviews, he doesn't act like that whatsoever. But on a debate stage, he's trying to differentiate himself with the other candidates. And a lot of times the other candidates bring up some really asinine talking points, and he has to combat this foolishness. And he does get perturbed. So that's when you see him kind of animated.
But
do you take Bernie Sanders home with you? Do you have to?
But even though he's animated, even in those instances that you're talking about, I don't really see a lot of yelling going on.
No. Do you see cursing?
Not at the debates. Not at these interviews. So I don't know what this cussing thing, what is he talking about? Yelling and cussing. They're trying to make like Bernie Sanders out to be grumpy and cranky.
Yes.
But guess what? You know what? Let's just say he is grumpy and cranky. What does that matter?
I know.
Let's just say that's true.
I know.
That he's grumpy and he's cranky. What does that matter? You know, like you bringing that stuff up, or him bringing that stuff up, or any pundit bringing that stuff up. That tells me that you really have no criticism. And to call him an insurgent is insulting because you're suggesting that, like, he doesn't belong here. He doesn't belong. He's just here to be like an incendiary device, a human incendiary device, to blow things up. He doesn't have enough support to be seen as a legitimate candidate. That's what insurgents do. That's essentially what insurgents do. They're not supposed to be here. They're just here to cause damage. That's kind of what he's suggesting. But last time I checked, Bernie Sanders has a lot of support.
He does. A lot of carryover support from 2016 and a lot of new support as well.
But they're ignoring that. I don't know why they're ignoring that.
Of course they're ignoring it.
One thing I don't like is this kind of rebranding, or maybe it's put in a different way. It's still the Bernie bro argument.
It is.
That's what that was. That was you're sexist if you support Sanders over Warren. That's what that was. That was the Bernie bro argument. And to me, it doesn't really make sense considering that there are other men in the race too, and they have supporters, right? Because if she's saying that if you right now support Sanders over Warren, that points to your sexism.
You're a sexist.
You're a sexist. Okay, let's just say that's true. Why wouldn't that apply to people who support Pete Buttigieg? See who's still in the race.
A progressive that's in the race too, Pete Buttigieg.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly.
No, self-described, and other people say
self-described.
It as well.
I don't think it matters who you name here because, all these candidates at one point have considered themselves progressive, right? So, and the point she was trying to make was just about who is better and who is not, and what it means if you don't support the woman in this case. So it would then have to apply, this logic would then have to extend beyond Bernie Sanders to the other male candidates or to the supporters of those other men candidates, because that's what she was referring to, the supporters. So if the supporters of, Bernie Sanders are sexist, right, for not supporting Warren, the supporters of Andrew Yang would be as well. The supporters of O'Rourke would be as well. The supporters of Julian Castro would be sexist as well. So why is that aim only directed? Why is that angle only directed at? Why is
it seems like it's
why is it only directed
always,
at?
There's only a
Sanders?
Bernie bro argument. There's no, like you said, there's no Julian bro argument. There's no there's no Julian bro. There's no Yang bro.
Beto bro sounds.
Beto bro that's already made. That's already Beto bro. That sounds better than Bernie bro, man. But no, there's none of that. And like you said, if you support any of these male candidates, if you support any of these male candidates, then I guess that does make you a sexist. Now, what's interesting about this particular woman, Emily Tish Sussman, is that she seems to do a lot of supporting of a particular candidate through her Twitter profile. And that male candidate, again, it's a male candidate. It's not Elizabeth Warren. It's a male candidate. It's not Bernie, of course, because you see how she talks about Bernie Sanders. But it is Cory Booker. Cory Booker, who, you know, there is some history between the two. I believe he officiated her wedding.
Yes,
so there's a little history between the two. But through her, like I said, through her Twitter profile, she supports him. So in one instance, she said, even if you have another first choice, Cory Booker is certainly worth keeping in the race. So she wants people to donate to Senator Cory Booker to keep him in the race because she sees that there is something worth keeping around with Cory Booker. She likes his messaging, she likes his campaign, she likes his platform, whatever.
But that Bernie Sanders.
But Bernie Sanders, if you support Bernie Sanders over Elizabeth Warren, then that means you're a sexist. And like I said, I don't think it's just, I don't think she would tell you it's just about like supporting male. Because I think it's really matching up this Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, matching up these two, because to a lot of people, these two are very similar and have very similar ideas, and there's not a lot of daylight between the two. So if you are supporting Bernie Sanders over Elizabeth Warren, then that has to reside somewhere in misogyny. You have to be sexist to some degree because you can clearly see that there is a woman that is surgeon and that has better detailed positions.
Did she explain those detailed
No,
plans?
she did not. She did not explain those detailed positions. Now, if you believe that Elizabeth Warren has detailed positions or better detailed positions, which I don't tend to agree with, but even if you do agree with that statement, does that mean that her detailed positions are better than Bernie Sanders?
See, now you're trying to be logical, man. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, it just means that she has outlined her, like, imagine if Amy Klobuchar outlined everything that she wanted to do in a very, like, detailed way. Would that mean that her as a president of the United States would be better than Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or anybody else? No, it would just mean that she's very organized and she's very transparent. She wants to tell the people exactly what she's about and how she would govern. That's what it tells people. It doesn't mean that she's better on anything. Now, she also said, Emily Tish Sussman. She also said that, like I said, her plans are more detailed. She's surgeon.
She has more support from black voters, which is carried over.
A broader coalition
which is not
of support.
True, which is actually not true.
It's not true.
Most of her support comes from white people.
Yes. Wealthy
white people specifically.
Yes. So it's like this whole narrative was completely false. But just on the issue of the whole, are her policies better? Are Elizabeth Warren's policies more detailed? Bernie Sanders recently came out with a policy, a wealth tax. Now, Elizabeth Warren has a similar proposal as well. Bernie Sanders goes a little bit deeper. So this is a little bit of the details about this, all right? So Bernie's extreme wealth tax. The Sanders plan, which he touts as a tax on extreme wealth, would kick in at a lower threshold than his fellow senators' proposal and would rise all the way to an 8% tax on households with wealth over $10 billion. It goes on to say, Sanders' plan starts with a 1% tax on net worth above $32 million for married couples. The plan has 8 tax brackets, with the highest being the 8% bracket. The brackets would be halved for single filers. By contrast, Warren's proposed wealth tax only has 2 brackets, a rate of 2% tax for wealth valued at between $50 million and $1 billion, and a rate at 3% for net worth above $1 billion. Warren, a Democratic senator from Massachusetts, hasn't specified any differences for single filers and married couples. Sanders and Warren's plans match in imposing a 2% tax on wealth between $50 million and $250 million. Now, you see that one particular part where it says that Warren has not specified any differences for single filers and married couples? You think Sussman? Do you think Sussman got that memo? I mean, do you think she read any of this whatsoever? Because she said that Elizabeth Warren is so much more detailed.
What?
So much more detailed.
What did you just ask me?
Do you think Sussman got the memo? Did she read any kind of analysis of Bernie Sanders' extreme wealth tax proposal and compared it to Senator Warren's and said, well, hey, damn, it looks like Bernie's is actually more detailed and goes farther?
Do I think she got the memo? Do I think she actually...
Yeah, she's in the know. She's in the know. She's certainly in the know. She's informed. She's informed.
Do I think she actually...
She has to be informed.
Do I think she actually made a comparison, an honest comparison from Bernie Sanders' plans and Elizabeth Warren's plans?
Yeah.
Might take me a minute. Because this, analysis she gave was very detailed. It was very detailed.
It was detailed about sexism, yeah.
Yeah, I know. So
it produced laughter too.
So I'm trying to,
I'm not gonna argue with that.
I'm trying to weigh some things out. No. I honestly don't think she cares. But I don't know. I think that goes into something else, or that goes into another question here. Like, what kind of person are we dealing with? Why, is she on MSNBC? And why is she delivering this type of commentary? It's obviously nonsensical. It's obviously biased. Is it just that she just likes Warren better? It would still be whack. Still be whack. If you just like Warren better and you don't give a damn about, comparing her to Bernie, if you just like Warren, okay, fine. You want to come up with excuses to do that, even be nonsensical, fine. Sometimes that's the case. But if they're on a corporate news network, is it more than just I like her more? Is there something else to it? Why would she give such unbalanced coverage, unfair coverage, and kind of use this kind of irrational way to assess these candidates, not backed up by data? Is it just laziness? So
there has to be some type of motivation.
So yeah, there has to be some type of motivation.
So really what you're trying to get at is maybe we should concern ourselves about who she is, what her background is.
Her identity.
Yeah. So she's a Sussman. We know that. It's not her married name, which some people may assume because Tish Sussman.
They assume that she
got that from her husband. No, that's actually her given name, and Sussman is her father's name. Donald Sussman. He is a notable guy, actually, a very notable guy.
How notable is he?
He's a rumored billionaire. He's a rumored billionaire.
Like Donald Trump?
Yeah. I don't know exactly what his net worth is because it's kind of hard to, I guess, get those. He's a hedge fund manager.
Fund manager. So
he started a hedge fund.
Financial industry guy?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. He started a hedge fund many years ago called Paloma Partners.
Paloma
Partners. Does that ring a bell?
That has a ring to it. Is that a song? Hello. Is that a song?
No.
Paloma Partners. That's a Paloma Partners. That's a record distribution group?
No, it's a hedge fund.
Oh, it's a hedge fund, but it's a hedge fund for a record.
No. It's a hedge fund. It's a hedge fund. I think it operates with like $2-3 billion, something like that. Paloma Partners.
Paloma.
Yeah. Man, you might gotta go back to like 2015, 2016. You might ring some bells if you go to that particular period.
That sounds familiar. I recall looking up a particular candidate's donations and contributions on Open Secrets.
Yeah.
Is that, you think, where I got that from?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Paloma Partners is actually, or was actually, the largest contributor to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign in 2016.
So that's her
largest.
So that's her daddy.
That is her daddy. That's her daddy. Paloma Partners contributed, I think it was over $21 billion. No, I said billion. $21 million to her campaign. Again, the largest contributor to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign.
How can we draw that connection? How can we? Wouldn't that be a spacious connection, Will, to make? Just because that's her daddy.
Just because it's her daddy. Well, when you combine that with the fact that she's making unfounded remarks.
Unfounded claims.
Yes, about how
Bernie
if
Sanders.
you support Bernie Sanders over Elizabeth Warren, you are a sexist. When you say things like that, which is eerily similar to what people said in 2016 about Bernie Sanders. And Hillary Clinton. When you combine all of this information, all this relevant information, I think you have to...
She has a conflict of interest.
I think she does. I think she does. I don't think she's operating here with good intentions whatsoever. I think she has a mission, and that is to destroy Bernie Sanders. I think that's what her mission is. And
because
on MSNBC, she has a crowd that is worth doing that too. She has a crowd that is interested in that fight to destroy Bernie Sanders. What's interesting though to me,
it's different. Her reason for wanting to destroy Bernie Sanders because his actual platform addresses the very industries that her father works in.
Well, I don't know if it's different then, because MSNBC is they're interested in capital as well. So I don't know how different it is. What is interesting though is that we see somebody in Emily Tish Sussman who is obviously a capitalist. She's promoting Elizabeth Warren. Now, if Elizabeth Warren, as she says, is virtually the same as Bernie Sanders, you think she would be promoting Elizabeth Warren? You think she would be promoting Elizabeth Warren?
Wait a second. Well, I don't know if I like where you're going, bruh, because we might have some Warren, supporters watching. Actually, I don't care. So what you trying to say? Because see, now you're not just... The subject is not just Tish Sussman.
Oh, no, it's not. It's Elizabeth Warren as well. I think that she knows something that
we don't
some
know.
Other people...
Actually, we do know,
yeah,
but I'm just
some
saying.
other people like us have kind of pondered. And Elizabeth Warren isn't as progressive as what she...
Why would she be supporting
suggests
Elizabeth
herself to
Warren?
be. Kind of promotes herself to be.
Why would she be supporting Elizabeth Warren? That's the question. Somebody like her, from the background like her.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't. If somebody like her would be supporting somebody like Amy Klobuchar, Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, maybe even Kamala Harris. But if Elizabeth Warren is what she says she is,
she wouldn't be getting support from somebody like this.
And also, she wouldn't be getting support from the multiple media platforms that give her all this glowing coverage. If Bernie Sanders got the same coverage, because again, we're being made to believe that Elizabeth Warren is the same type of candidate as Bernie Sanders, but more detailed, right? She has a plan for that. More detailed. Same positions. She has evolved and her positions are getting better too. So we have a woman who is just like Bernie Sanders with more detailed positions. Why wouldn't you support somebody like that? If she's actually that strong progressive, why would she get such glowing remarks, such rave reviews from people like Sussman and CNN and Washington Post and MSNBC.
Oh, Lord,
Why
Lord,
the
Lord,
hell?
Lord,
when
please,
it was
please.
Bernie's ideas in 2016 that didn't get any of this type of coverage.
No,
Again, if she has the same narratives as Bernie Sanders, and those narratives got just summarily dismissed in 2016, you're telling me that they're just being welcomed now because it comes in the form of Elizabeth Warren?
That doesn't make sense considering how they, I guess, chose to categorize Bernie's agenda. They categorize it as one that's extreme, one that wouldn't work, one that is divisive, one that creates polarization. If it was truly all of those things, then it would still be all of those things if Elizabeth Warren pushes it. If they were being genuine.
If she's being genuine.
Yeah. But all this was because of Iowa poll.
Yes.
This whole thing started. We started this
Because of
conversation
an
Iowa poll. Bernie is done. He's peaked.
It's a two-person race now.
This proves it. Like, even if I take it at face value and say it's true and it's a representation of all Iowans, it would still be lazy.
It would, because it's one poll.
It's one poll. And I was like, it just feels that they're picking and choosing polls, picking and choosing, I guess, to look at certain metrics. And when they make when they issue their commentary, especially on Bernie Sanders, like they ignored the Emerson poll, it seems like.
Yes. Which is really interesting. Emerson poll, in which we talked about last week, it detailed how Biden and Sanders were atop the polling.
Almost neck and neck.
Yeah, 26%. They got 26% each to take the first place. Now, Elizabeth Warren came in at number 3 with 20% support.
Two-person race. Where was it? It was is California bigger than Iowa?
That's how ridiculous this is.
Is California bigger than Iowa? I think that's a simple question.
California awards the most delegates of all states.
In this reality, the reality we live in, there might be a reality somewhere in some far-off galaxy where Iowa is bigger. And Iowa applies some far-off galaxy, but in this galaxy, in this reality, California is the biggest state.
And Iowa's nowhere near the biggest get in terms of delegates.
So why would
you pay attention to
the
Iowa poll?
Make an assessment, a gross assessment, meaning a broad analysis about the someone's entire campaign based on this, but not do the same thing when the California poll came out? To me, that makes no sense. Again, you're just picking and choosing what you pay attention to or what you value.
And what you ignore.
And what you ignore, too. Because, I mean, like, again, this kind of commentary is coming right after Bernie Sanders reached 1 million.
Yep.
donors.
1 million unique contributors.
1 million unique contributors. So it's like, you would think that would matter more than just an
But I didn't hear many people talking about that.
I didn't hear them talking about it.
No, I didn't hear that at all. But the Iowa poll makes a huge difference. And that Emerson poll in California, it makes no sense to highlight the Iowa poll. Now, again, I've said it many times before, you got to take these polls with a grain of salt. It doesn't mean that you just completely ignore them.
Yeah.
I mean, they mean something, but they clearly do not mean everything. Even if you were to assert that because of this poll, Elizabeth Warren is going to win in Iowa in January. You know who won in Iowa in the Republican primary? Do you know who won Iowa in 2016? Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz won Iowa. Did he come away with the nomination? Not even close. Not even close. Not even, if you, I don't know if you heard, not even close. Not even close.
Ted, my daughter doesn't even want to kiss me for a campaign promo cruise.
It means, this means nothing. Really, in the Emerson polling, it's a good look. I will say because I support Bernie Sanders, it's certainly a good look.
I would not go
but
off
it
the deep
doesn't.
end and sit there and say it automatically means he'll win California.
It means
I wouldn't say that. But to kind of put this in perspective concerning Bernie Sanders reaching 1 million donors. Obama did not reach that until February. February 27th.
The year of the election.
The year of the election. So that's what, 5 months. 5 months.
About
So
5
Bernie
months.
reached that 5 months before Obama did.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton, almost a month after Obama, almost March 18th. Hillary Clinton didn't reach 1 million donors until the election year, 3 months in. But Bernie reaches that this early, and his campaign is done, and he's peaked. Get the fuck out of
Is
here, huh?
Bernie Sanders? Has he peaked? Come on, man.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like a WWF skit.
Fake.
That's Bernie Sanders peak, brother. See, now that's old WWF. I'm old
That
school.
is. Mean Gene.
Mean Gene.
And Chris Eliza, man, to put Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris in a tie for third, especially given California polling, which put her in 5th place behind Andrew Yang in her own state. You're telling me that she's tied with Bernie Sanders in the power rankings? The power rankings, Mean Gene?
You gonna rip off your shirt next?
This isn't Tearaway, man.
Oh,
I don't got that Hulk Hogan thing going on right now. But anyway, it's ridiculous, man.
we're
sexist.
I'm a macho man guy.
Yeah, we're sexist now. So.
That would explain my Bernie broness.
Yeah.
I'm a macho man right now.
Any of you out there supporting Bernie Sanders right now, you're clearly sexist. You need to do some reforms. Okay.
Not just the men and women. You need to,
I'm not excluding them.
you need to deal with your internalized misogyny. here.
Exactly. You're
As a
supporting
Bernie supporter,
the patriarchy.
you can't even say that without laughing.
I cannot, man.
The patriarchy.
All right. Maybe we got time for one more since it's I want to get
It's
to this
9
one.
o'clock. Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't think we were gonna get to everything. But yeah, I want to get to this thing that happened. Actually, a couple things that happened in Orlando, Florida. So, an Orlando police officer and school resource officer has been fired after he arrested 2 6-year-olds for bad behavior in school. I did not misstate anything. This school resource, this school resource officer, who is also a police officer, he arrested 2 different 6-year-olds in their school for bad behavior. His name is Officer Dennis Turner. He was previously put on suspension pending the outcome of the investigation, but like I said, didn't take too long for them to make the decision that this guy does not need to be employed any longer. This was one of the sentences that I read, and this is from CBS News. And this caused me to laugh, even though it's definitely not funny. But just think about reading a sentence like this. The arrests were on unrelated misdemeanor charges, authorities said. All charges against the children have since been dropped. 6-year-olds.
The fact that you're reading that and it pertains to 6-year-old is disturbing to me.
They're
man.
misdemeanor charges, but, good thing all charges have been dropped against these vicious 6-year-old children. So one of the 6-year-old girls, or one of the 6-year-old students, we don't know if the other one is male or female, I have no idea. But one of them is named Kaya. One of them is named Kaya. Her grandmother, Marilyn Kirkland, she told WKMG TV just how outraged she was. She said she received a call from the school resource officer, Officer Turner, informing her that Kaya had been arrested. Turner told the grandmother that Kaya had kicked someone is being charged for it. So Kaya was handcuffed and taken to the Juvenile Assessment Center. She was fingerprinted, and she even had a mugshot taken. The grandmother, I believe, I don't know if it was the grandmother or another family member, but they did go to pick her up. They had to wait until the fingerprinting was done, and then they were allowed to take her home. So Kirkland, her grandmother, she said that the reason for this outburst in school, the reason for this tantrum, was due to a medical condition. So she is telling the story as as she is speaking to this news outlet. She's telling the story of how she was speaking to the resource officer and what was said. So she said, he says, what medical condition? She has a sleep disorder, sleep apnea. He says, well, I have sleep apnea and I don't behave like that. This is where a fist comes through the phone.
Oh, so you putting kind of paranormal. Well, I wouldn't say it's like you're going through space and time to put hands on somebody.
Oh yeah. Like this is definitely an animation.
You're violating the rules of space and time just so you can put.
And I think it's warranted. I think it's warranted for this.
Because it seems very dismissive, and I'm like, you're talking.
I have sleep apnea. I'm a grown man, and this 6-year-old child, she should know how to conduct herself.
That sounds like someone trying to dismiss a very important matter, not wanting to address it. That just seems very dismissive.
The department's policy requires an officer to get the approval of a watch commander before an arrest can be made on somebody under the age of 12. So the other 6-year-old was arrested. I believe the other 6-year-old was handcuffed. I'm not sure of that. But that 6-year-old was returned to school and wasn't processed, wasn't charged because a transport official learned that the approval was not obtained. But one of them, like I said, the little girl Kaya, she did have to go through the system, get transported to the juvenile facility, get fingerprinted. She was handcuffed, had to get a mugshot taken, and then had to be released. I don't know if she ever made it to actually being caged up. I don't know if that was the case, if she was actually locked away. I have no idea. But this is I don't know if a 6-year-old would be able to process, like if this is a traumatic experience or not. Maybe they would be able to, because they're certainly going to be in unfamiliar territory without their teacher, without their friends, without their parents, grandmother, whoever. They're going to see a lot of unfamiliar faces, and they're going to see people treating them like a criminal, a 6-year-old. So maybe even a 6-year-old could determine that, like, this is bad. I don't like this. This is going to stay with me for some period of time. I don't know. I would hope that's not the case, because that's a memory that I would not wish on the 6-year-old child. But I don't know if that can be, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to leave a lasting image or not. I don't know.
So there needs to be kind of a focus on this particular officer. Like, why would he feel that was necessary?
Why would he feel that
6 years old, cuffs?
Oh, I forgot to mention. I did forget to mention. I'm not sure of the other child that is nameless. We don't know the identity of the other child. But Kaya is black.
Do you think
that is relevant?
Would you consider this excessive? would you consider this excessive?
Very much. Very much. And we know, again, we've stated this on the show before, that black children are often confused with being more mature than what they are, more grown than what they are, adults when they are not. For some reason, it's easier to detect a criminal mindset or something that warrants an officer's suspicion or whatever if the child is black. Now, a 6-year-old, that is going to the absolute extreme. You cannot confuse a 6-year-old with any adult whatsoever. I don't care how big she is. There's no way you can confuse her with an adult. So I would have to assume that this officer knows policy. I would have to assume that he knows it's not standard practice to take somebody that young into custody.
Maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he has a particular mind state or a particular attitude, not necessarily about, race or ethnicity, but maybe he approaches his job in a way that, I don't know, I guess that gives some sort of, I don't know, indication about who he is as a person. Maybe he approaches his job according to who he is and not policy. Like one thing that kind of stands out to me is the police department's response to this. They instantly suspended him pending investigation.
They were very apologetic.
Very apologetic.
Yeah.
But, when they hire police officers, I know they do some sort of background checks, check on this potential hire. I know they do like some sort of psychological assessment to see if this individual is fit to be a police officer, to see if they have the temperament to be a police officer. So it would be easy for me to just say, man, this dude is like went overboard with this situation. What would cause him to treat a 6-year-old like this? He just seemed very sadistic.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, were there any signs that kind of, I don't know, should have been a red flag about this particular officer? So I don't want to, let the police department, that ultimately, I think they fired him, right?
They did.
I don't want to let them off the hook, even though they did the right thing in firing him, because this dude has a background, a history of abuse. In 1998, police arrested him and charged him with aggravated child abuse for beating his 7-year-old son. There was another case in 2016 of an incident where Turner used a taser on a man 5 times, and the last 2 times he tased the person was already out. He tased the person again, even though they were unresponsive. I believe there was another incident in 2003 where Seminole County sheriffs requested state's attorney's office to investigate Turner when he was accused of assaulting and threatening the ex-husband of the woman he was dating.
So he has a history with not responding appropriately.
Aggressive and not responding appropriately, abusing his power,
yes.
Using his badge to, I guess,
flexing him.
Yeah,
flexing his muscles, flexing his authority. Again, in reading the details of these cases, I think this would make for like a good comedy sketch. I think a comedian, if they're telling a joke like this, I think this is so absurd that I think it could get a crowd laughing. Oh man, this 6-year-old man, it was wilding out, man, kicking people. No, we had to put her in handcuffs. I think a comedian could actually do something with that joke.
Put her in the paddy wagon.
Yeah, I think a comedian could do something with that joke if they set it up the right way. I think it could be funny. In real life, you're gonna catch hands. This is yet another story where you're gonna get touched. You're going to get touched. Like, I'm looking for you. If I'm the parent, the grandmother of this child, 6 years old, imagine being on the phone, you're being called by the school resource officer, and you're being told that your 6-year-old child acted up and is on the way to the juvenile facility to be fingerprinted and have her mugshot taken. Imagine it's your first grader. Your first grader. I'm reaching out and touching somebody. Somebody's gonna get the hands. You have to at that point. I don't care if you're a police officer. You have to get the hands at that point. You took my 6-year-old child out of school. I can't. Man. You see, they're trying their damnness to actually arrest parents. It must be that they're trying to get more people in prison because these are cases where parents are probably gonna want to put their hands on people. If you mess with them like this. If you mess with their children.
Yo girl, dog. Yo girl, son. Yo girl. I know. I just put that on you, dog. See, I surprised him with something. I mean, he could tell you if he wants to. I mean, if he wants to tell you. I know he's gonna go into this long. He's gonna go into something long if he starts. I know it. See, you heard he cleared the throat, right? He,
Hold on. I'm.
See, he wasn't expecting that. Y'all don't even know what I showed him.
If I had thought about it,
You would have probably thought of it.
I would have thought
You would have thought that would have been her.
You know what? We're gonna get this on screen. We're gonna get this on screen, man. We're gonna get this on screen. I think this is worthy of getting. Which one? Oh no, CNN. This is CNN.
It ain't her. It ain't her.
Oh, okay. CNN. Okay. Let's get this.
So it's early. So it's a tweet that was within the last hour. Oh, within the last 45 minutes. So it's probably right up there.
Okay. All right.
At the top. They may even pinned it. But they post every 2 seconds. Oh, there it is.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. You're just gonna have to bear with us for just one moment here.
He's determined right now. I don't know if I've ever seen this before.
Yeah.
You know what? I've never seen this before. I just saw something, some notification. Well, I don't know if it was a notification or me just surfing. I just always be surfing for news and information sometimes during the show, just to update myself if I need some more information about a story I didn't get before.
See, Muggs is always hating. You know what I'm saying? People hate when we have something to say about certain people.
So I showed him something. He was very intrigued by it, and he's intrigued enough to now go to the source of this news, get a screenshot, and share it with the LTMB audience.
Like I said, people be hating. People really be hating sometimes. We don't set out to,
antagonize.
Yeah, we don't set out to do that.
That's not my thing. I don't got energy to antagonize people.
Nah, like if you say some bullshit, we definitely will have a take. We will call out the bullshit. We will definitely call out the bullshit. But we don't just, like if nobody would say bullshit. I mean, like, look, we would have to do a completely different show. I mean, if everything was perfect, we would have to do a different show to kind of entertain people and inform people, no doubt. just about one more minute, about maybe about 30 seconds. Maybe about 30 seconds. And all right, okay, yeah, maybe about 30 seconds. About 9:20. We have just a few minutes to just talk about this. What did we talk about earlier? We talked about that for maybe a good hour or so. We talked about this new revelation.
I just started the show.
At the start of the show, it was a new revelation that the impeachment inquiry was announced by Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. The impeachment proceedings are beginning, and that's all because of this whistleblower complaint that has not been given to Congress, even though
someone
the law states that it should.
Someone who doesn't have a connection to the Democratic Party.
That's right. And so, of course, we dealt with multiple takes. We dealt with Donald Trump's take, with Brad Parscale. We didn't deal with everybody's. Look, this all happened because there was a meeting between Pelosi and many of the Democrats who had not been supportive of impeaching Donald Trump as of yet. But because of these newest revelations, these new developments, the allegations that Trump did something improper on that phone call, and that there's something there in this whistleblower complaint because Atkinson, the watchdog in the intelligence community, he said that it's an urgent concern. Because of all of this and the whistleblower complaint not being released to Congress, it finally pushed a lot of Democrats to that breaking point where it was like, okay, no, we got to do it. We can't let this lawlessness just continue. Well, obviously that was not everybody in the House that believed that way, huh? Not everybody in the House, not every Democrat in the House believed that way. So one Democrat who did not agree with the impeachment inquiry is a Democratic representative and presidential candidate, Tulsi Gabbard. Apparently, I would have to I would have to think that this is accurate reporting, but CNN reports that Democratic Hawaii Rep. Tulsi Gabbard says she doesn't support the move to impeach Trump because it would be, quote, terribly divisive for an, quote, already very divided United States. Before I even say any more, I'm going to delve into this article just
a little bit.
Just a little bit to see if there's any more tidbits of information that I need to. Yes, she is quoted. There's an interview. She did an interview with CNN's Brooke Baldwin.
Oh, is that correct?
She did an interview. We don't have that clip. We don't have that clip as of yet. But apparently she said, quote, look, my position remains the same. I think impeachment would be terribly divisive for our already very divided country. I think Congress needs to exercise oversight over the information that's been leaked. I think it's important this transcript is released to Congress so that Congress can do its job. End quote. It hasn't been released to Congress. And it seemed that that was the final nail in the coffin because it was already a lawless act. It was already a lawless act. This isn't the first lawless act from this president. It seems to be that this was the final nail in the coffin, and many of the Democrats who had not, again, they had not agreed with impeachment before, this was the one they were like, okay, hold it, nah. You can't, no. We are a co-equal branch of government. We're going to do our jobs. You're not going to stop us from doing our job. If you do, sorry, we're going to have to act. But Tulsi Gabbard does not agree. Now, I will remind you, one of the major problems that I've had with Tulsi Gabbard was during the whole Mueller investigation fiasco, in which after the, what was it, the four-page summary given by A.G. Barr after Mueller finishes his investigation, A.G. Barr released a 4-page summary of it, pretty much saying nothing to see here. And at that moment, even though the full text of the Mueller report had not been released, Tulsi Gabbard came out and said, well, this is great. Think about what could have happened if Trump was guilty of these crimes and he was impeached. It could have resulted in a civil war.
What if I had suggested? What if we had suggested, right? You know what? Not even us. Just take us out of it. Just any representative, whether it be a presidential candidate or non-presidential candidate. And let's say Hillary Clinton. Members of her campaign, including her, were being targeted, highlighted, not highlighted by law enforcement, and because of some sort of criminal activity, some sort of, some sort of improper activity that could be considered criminal. And they said, hey, we don't want to, look too much into this because we're already in a divided country. And all that will happen if Hillary Clinton is, held accountable is people will be mad, and then that would just create division.
Yeah, more division.
It would create more division. We're already divided. No, aren't we already divided?
Of course, that's the human condition.
That's the human condition.
Right.
The human condition is being divided, having conflict, especially in this country. But if you're talking about specifically this country, there hasn't been a time in history where we haven't been divided. So to me, to act as if that's some sort of barrier in trying to hold someone accountable is damn weak. It's not only it's weak, it doesn't make any sense. And when something doesn't make any sense, something's up. That's all I'm saying. The nerves of suspicion start to tingle when something doesn't make any sense. Like if that's the standard, then guess what? Nobody's of importance, including the president. Nobody of importance should be held accountable for anything because, hey, that's going to make some people mad. This person shouldn't be held accountable because, hey, we're divided. We're just divided, and that to me that just doesn't make sense, and that's just weak. You know what divides people?
What?
Cutting FEMA funds.
Yeah.
That's divisive.
Yeah.
That divides people. Muslim bans divides people.
Yeah.
Transgender bans divide people.
Abortion bans.
Abortion bans divide people. Xenophobia divides people. Racism divides people. I would say, being in violation of the Emoluments Clause. That is very divisive. That divides people.
Yeah.
Because that creates conflicts.
Lack of accountability.
Lack of accountability
is divisive.
That is divisive. When the person who is the center of this is at the center of creating the divisiveness. That doesn't mean nobody else in our government is divisive in a bad way, in a toxic way. That doesn't mean that. But this is about Trump here. That particular individual is responsible for a lot of this country being divided. I wouldn't say necessarily responsible for it, but he kind of encourages it, I would say. Because we were divided before he came. But he's encouraged a lot of it. So to me, it doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't want to address the very individual that encourages the country being divided. Your motive for not wanting to deal with individuals, particularly Donald Trump, that are dividing the country, your motive for not wanting to deal with those people is because the country is divided.
Can you? Can you make like a circle, right? Can you, like right? All right, because that's the trash, right? And that's Tulsi. See what? If you ain't gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take that little part right there, about 5 seconds, just put it on loop. Put it on loop, and send it to Nico. See what he got to say. Do it. I'm throwing Tulsi away. I'm throwing Tulsi away. I think I already did.
I
already did.
When I said it should cut off, so she don't get the new McRib next week. She cut off. She cut off on the McRib next week.
It's been too many instances, man, and it's not. You know, like there's people have, especially corporate media, have gone to her link, in Syria, with the dictator there, and but at no point have we ever criticized her
for dumb shit.
No. For dumb shit. No. Now we have brought up when discussing who she is and like where she came from and how she kind of shifted her ideology. Yeah, we have touched on how she used to be. It seems to be a homophobe. We
gave her a pass for that.
Yeah, we did.
Regardless of whether we saw it as politically expedient, if she moved on from that, because
she moved on.
We understand people grow up a certain way and they have a certain background.
Right.
It's hard to get out of that.
Yeah.
So
even into adulthood.
So I'm like, I give her a pass on that. You know what I'm saying?
That's not something that we talk about. We talk about relevant matters. Things that she is doing currently, things that she has done in recent years. I'm talking in recent years. That's what we talk about.
Or was she watching this on torture?
When she says that she doesn't support this move for the impeachment inquiry, when she says that the reason why is because it would be terribly divisive, who is she speaking to? Who is she speaking to?
We know who she's talking to.
She's not talking to liberals. She's not talking to progressives.
Maybe a better word to use would be coddle. Maybe that's the better word to use in this situation.
This is what Tulsi Gabbard does. She straddles the fence. She doesn't really take a hardline stance. The hardline stance you could say that she may take is on foreign matters. And, getting us out of these endless wars and, regime change and this and that. But still, even with that, you can kind of highlight areas where she talks about terrorism, though, and combating terrorism, and you're like, well, hold on. Well, how do you combat terrorism? She's supportive of that, but she's not supportive of regime change and endless. It gets kind of messy, but still, she's playing the fence, like she's playing the middle. You cannot tell me she's talking to liberals here. You cannot tell me she's talking to progressives. She's talking to one crowd and only one crowd, the people that are not
She's
supportive
trying not to
of
offend.
impeachment whatsoever. And the people that are absolutely like up in arms about this are Republicans, are conservatives. No wonder why she does go on to right-wing networks, Fox News.
Dave Rubin.
And then when she's on with Dave Rubin, she says some really...
She plays into this really heavy hand that David Rubin dealt her in a series of ridiculously loaded questions that were nothing but straw men. She didn't push back. We talked
Didn't
about
push back whatsoever. The Democratic Party is for open borders. Yeah, you could say that.
they want to take your guns away too.
Yeah.
Well, what was the other thing? There was three things. They want to take your guns away, open borders.
Democrats
Are
or
not-
liberals are
Oh,
not
yeah.
patriotic. Why
Yeah,
aren't they
that's right.
patriotic?
Look,
Like
I
you know
got the Constitution right up there on the wall.
I got the flag there. I'm a proud American. How come liberals aren't like that? Yeah, it's
That
kind
is
of
a problem.
disheartening.
That's a disheartening. That's a problem. Something wrong with her,
Nah,
dog.
man.
Something wrong with her.
She's no.
Yeah, something
I'm
wrong with
sorry.
her. There's
Nah.
I am suspicious. I am suspicious.
I'm
I
no
am
longer. I'm
suspicious.
no longer suspicious. I'm no longer just suspicious.
So are you?
No, she's gone. She's gone. Perfect timing too. No. She's done.
That's where you at right now.
She's done now. She's done. In my eyes, she's done. I'm sorry. I'm done. Bernie Sanders. You know, Elizabeth Warren is somebody that I don't
Trust.
I don't trust her at all. I really don't trust her at all. And I don't think there's anything more damaging to what Elizabeth Warren is than when she says that she's not for unilateral disarmament, meaning that she will take all types of dirty money, but she will remain clean. That is highly ridiculous. Ridiculous. So I don't trust her whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I would still put her above Tulsi Gabbard.
And I was curious about, Elizabeth Warren. More curious. I just wanted to kind of put a microscope on maybe some interviews she did, because what kind of inspired that was Emma's interview, and I was like, damn. Let me look at. Is there any other instances where she did that? And I went back and watched the TYT interview from February, and I was like,
oh yeah, she's shady.
wow.
Oh, she's shady.
I was like, wow.
Oh,
I
yeah.
did not like the job Jink did, dog. Jink was weak on that one. Anna was much stronger.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, everybody on TYT other than Jink is
They had to
strong.
repeat questions
Like,
because
Jake
she
is just
tried to
weak,
run away
dog.
from them.
She Anna was trying to do her best, which it didn't work. But
Jink was talking about okay, so how much time, because you used to take the money, right? So how much time did you have to spend, I guess, coveting those donations, spend time with these wealthy people,
donors.
And she went on into
I don't know the
generics.
numbers. I don't know the percentages.
She said like 70% of people. Yeah, it's like, I think it's about 70% people. They spend their time doing that. And I think it's just a horrible process, and that. And Jink had to combat that with well, hold on. Well, I know you said that, but I'm asking about you. Is that how much time you had to spend? She would not nail it down. She said, well, significantly less, but blah, 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 and went on to something else. She is shady as. Okay, straight up, she's shady as.
They were asking her direct questions about her plans and especially dealing with Wall Street corporate donations.
Mm-hmm.
How can we expect you to be honest?
Yeah.
How can we expect you to hold them accountable if you take money from them? You know what she said?
What?
That's a very good question. Then proceeded not to answer the question. Then talks about corruption in general. I was like, you
Yes.
did not. And I was like, damn. I was like,
Again,
wow.
like I said, you won't catch me on record. You won't catch me anytime saying that, yeah, man, Elizabeth Warren, she's a great candidate. She's a great individual. No, I think she's shady as hell.
She's
I don't
the
trust her.
insurgent.
Yeah, she's
the real
She is the
insurgent.
real insurgent. But I don't trust her whatsoever. I don't trust her to actually get these progressive things done. I just don't. But damn it, I think she would. I can't trust either one of them, her or Tulsi Gabbard. But Tulsi Gabbard is she comes across as a snake. She comes across as a snake that is just trying to like cover herself up. A wolf in sheep's clothing, man. I don't know who Tulsi Gabbard is. I seriously do not.
Think about this though. Kind of this position she's taking right now. Why wouldn't it apply to other things that may be considered divisive, like policy?
Why wouldn't it be?
Why wouldn't it apply to those things? You know what I'm saying? Why, if going forth with something like an impeachment inquiry, right? If she says going forth with it is not applicable, it's not the way to go, it's not a good path because it's divisive. Some people will get mad. Like, how would that apply to the important matters like maybe climate change legislation? How would that apply to, Medicare for all, criminal justice reform, anything that's seen as divisive or extreme? Like, how is she going to apply that same logic with those things? Those issues are divisive. Even though she says she stands up for some of those things now, I don't get it because she's not basing her assessment and she's not basing her position on any available facts of the matter. She is not creating her analysis as a representative based on the case at hand, the case that is being presented in a vacuum. It's in a vacuum. You just deal with this case and what it is. She's going outside of that and now allowing some sort of, like external factors, meaningless factors, to affect what position she has on this matter. I don't know why. I just don't know why.
You know what's divisive?
What?
Obviously, what's divisive is voting against a resolution that condemns the BDS movement. That's divisive, I guess. To vote against it. Not divisive is voting for it. Because that's what Tulsi Gabbard did too. Even though the BDS movement is not unconstitutional or anything, it's basically just saying, I'm not gonna spend money going to Israel. If it's just me or if it's a larger crowd, me or we feel like we're gonna boycott Israel and we're not gonna contribute to that economy. And Congress members said, oh no, we have to band together and denounce that type of action. And Tulsi joined them. You really have, so really what at the heart of this is what's divisive to Tulsi Gabbard and what's not?
That's the question. We just listed off a few things. Just off the top of our head. We just listed off a few things.
I tossed her. Boop. Easy.
Dumpster?
Bam.
Onto the landfill?
Didn't get my hands dirty.
Damn. Savage, man. We expect there to be pushback, obviously, but, if we're going to deal with things on a case-by-case basis, then you ain't got no argument. I'm just saying. If we're dealing with things on a case-by-case basis, you ain't got no argument. You ain't got one. I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for you. If you're dealing with something on a case-by-case basis, we would love to hear your argument on this particular issue, and whether you can defend this argument as well as maybe some of the other arguments we brought up about her. You know what I'm saying? Like, so bringing up good things that you perceive as good is really, doesn't matter in this case. If we're going to, critique a politician on specific things and how they react to specific things, then I really want to hear somebody defend her on this, and maybe some of the other things we brought up, especially her going on Dave Rubin, especially her position, let's say, on the wall. Remember her position on the wall?
Oh my gosh, dreadful. Oh my gosh, dreadful, man. Her position on the wall. Why you even? Come on. Why did you even? Her position on the wall was nonsensical. On the shutdown was absolute nonsense. She criticized the Democratic Party for holding firm and not giving in to Donald Trump's wall demand.
Hey, why didn't the Democrats give in and give Trump his wall? How dare they?
But what was her position?
I don't think the wall is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait a second.
I don't,
Wait
I
a
don't
second.
agree with the wall. Yeah, I don't.
Wait.
Yo, I can't. I can't.
A wall is divisive.
A wall is divisive.
Literally.
Yes. I can't. I just can't with her, man. I just can't.
Maybe she's playing. Okay. Maybe I'm not gonna necessarily jump the shark here, but I'm gonna cut this. I'm gonna cut this right quick. Maybe she's playing like 8-dimensional chess. Maybe she's playing 8-dimensional chess. You know what I'm saying? Maybe she's just trying to fool Republicans. Maybe she's trying to get Republicans comfortable with her.
What kind of strategy is that when it's not working?
Oh man!
Because first you have to get past the Democratic Party before you can even like covet or try to elicit support from Republicans.
Look here, man. This is a very thin limb I'm walking out on here. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to figure out something to be contrary here.
You know, look.
That's all.
She
just
has
trying to figure out something.
You know, just like with anybody else, I'm not saying that Tulsi Gabbard has all bad positions.
Hell no.
I couldn't say that.
Hell no.
But the problem is that she is so untrustworthy at this point that where I don't know who the heck she is. If it was something like, you know, we were talking about the wealth tax, the wealth tax between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. I think both proposals are pretty good. Actually, now Bernie Sanders goes further and it's actually more detailed. So I like it better, right? But that does not mean that Elizabeth Warren's is bad. I don't think it's bad whatsoever. Now, if Tulsi Gabbard had a similar position as, Elizabeth Warren, and we were just debating those two, this is not like, oh, I don't like it and I don't trust you because of that. No, that's just based on like you think this way is maybe better. This is your idea. Somebody has another idea. They're both good. Maybe this one's a little bit better. Whatever. This is not about that. This goes to how can people continue to trust someone that is showing that they are not trustworthy when you are a progressive, as you say you are, when you have a certain ideology and your ideology, your position is on the wall, like on the wall in the shutdown. Like, nope, I'm not with Trump on this wall. I don't believe that we should give him the money for the wall. I don't think that we should cave in as a party and just cede to his demands. Nope, I'm not for that whatsoever. That is your position and everybody knew it. But when it came time to put the blame on anyone, you put the blame on Trump and the Democratic Party for holding the same position that you have. What are you trying to do here? What are you trying to do? When Dave Rubin says that the Democratic Party is the open border party and you say, yep, I think that's a fair assessment. What are you trying to do? When Dave Rubin says that conservatives are more patriotic than liberals, and you say, yeah, that's disheartening. What the hell are you trying to do?
When Dave Rubin suggests that there's one side trying to take away guns, and you do not push back on that, and you just kind of accept that as fact, then yeah, who are you? Like, what are you doing?
She even lended herself to the whole religious freedom argument. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That op-ed that she had, I believe, in The Hill?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. These are important matters, and she's showing herself to be a fraud. She's not talking to progressives. No, she has a different crowd where she's trying to aim her focus. Nah, I'm sorry. Elizabeth Warren, and you know who's coming up number 3? You know who's coming up number 3 right now?
Steyer?
Yep.
Only reason is because we talked about him at the beginning of the show.
Tom Steyer. Now, like I said, with Warren, man, but I get a bad taste with both of them, actually, her and Tulsi Gabbard. I really do get a bad taste. With Steyer, I have a better taste in my mouth with Steyer. No, his past is uncomfortable. No doubt, his past is uncomfortable. And I think I think that's reasonable for anybody to say. His past is very uncomfortable. He's a billionaire. He's using his money to try to get better standing in this race. I could get where people would be uncomfortable with that. But for the last several years, I don't think any progressive would have any complaints with what he's been saying and what he's been doing. For the last several years. Seems as though he's trying to right his ship. So, you know, I'm not above, you know, saying that people can't evolve. No, I think people can. Has Tom Steyer evolved? He might have. I don't know. I definitely want to hear more. But at this point, yeah, I'm more sold on him than Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, I'm more sold on him than Tulsi Gabbard. I'm more sold on the billionaire than Tulsi Gabbard.
That's rough. That's rough, man.
She said that this would be too divisive.
I would love, you know, for anybody that wants to play defense attorney for Tulsi Gabbard to call in on this particular issue, or maybe some of the other issues we just brought up. I would love that. I would really love that on this particular issue, or maybe some of the other issues we brought up. It would be good. We're not gonna prioritize calls based on that, but we would just love someone to call in.
I don't know if anybody is around that would be willing to cape for her. I don't know. I did see. I think I saw one comment saying, "Oh, you lost. You know, somebody. We lost somebody with our negative talk about Tulsi." I'm very unconcerned about that because, you know, I'm like what they say about Atkinson, the watchdog in the intelligence community, calls balls and strikes. I'm like that guy. That's all I try to do, man. I've called strikes against Bernie. I've called strikes about many people that I support. Doesn't matter if you are. I mean, if you are worthy of criticism, it's not something that we shy away from. Damn, I remember back, you know, and we kind of talked about this recently, not on the show, but I remember back in 2016, we criticized Sean King. You remember that?
Yeah, he came on our page.
Yeah, he came on our page.
I don't even know what the criticism was about. Maybe it was about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah,
we criticized Sean King. Sean King's got like 8 million followers, some junk like that. And he came to our page, and I will say, he wasn't rude. I didn't feel like we were being harassed.
No.
I didn't feel that he was being antagonistic. He just recognized that, hey, these are two, you know, gentlemen that support Bernie Sanders, and they have they deliver political commentary a few times a week. They have some followers. Apparently the video got to him somehow, and he felt the need to come to the page and respond. And it was completely respectful.
Yeah,
but
it was.
We just held our position.
We did. If you have a similar ideology as ours, and you don't have problems with what Tulsi Gabbard has been saying, the multiple things that we have addressed on the show, if you don't have a problem with those, I just wonder why. I just wonder about, because if Bernie Sanders had said this, if this was Bernie Sanders that was doing and saying the same things, best believe we'd have a problem. I don't care what mouth it comes out of. I couldn't care less. No, I don't care. Doesn't matter who is saying it. If Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying some bullshit, guaranteed we're going to criticize her on the bullshit. A lot of people wanted to, you know, hit AOC before she ever even stepped foot in Congress. Saying that, oh, she's not, you know, look at her doing the bidding for the Democratic Party already. Look, she's a fake, she's a phony. Oh, yeah. I really can't point to, I don't know if I can point to one thing where I've been like, oh man, I'm disappointed in you. Can you point at one? I can't point to one thing as of yet. It's only been a little while. It's only been, 8-9 months. I can't point to one thing where it's like, oh gosh, man, you shouldn't have done that. No, I can't point to one thing. Is there going to be one thing in the future? Could be. Like I said, Tulsi Gabbard. Like I said, if I had thought about who would not be supportive of the impeachment inquiry, if you had just posed the question, like, do you think any Democrats are going to be like, nah? Any Democrats in the House, you think they're nah? Like,
Again, you don't want to be contrarian to be contrarian, and we talk about that in regard to the Democratic Party all the time. You just don't want to engage in contrarianism, unnecessary contrarianism, just to, like, it's not necessary.
You know, I want to see. I want to see these comments. First comment: she's a Republican in ideology.
Isn't that what matters? Ideology, particularly, isn't that what matters?
Tulsi can do an about face and join the GOP trash for all we care. My goodness, please stop calling her a Democrat. Excuse me, Trump is terribly divisive, in case you hadn't noticed.
That's the point I was trying to make.
Never trusted that snake. Sadly for her, no voters will be supporting her already very terrible candidacy for president. Terribly divisive for who? My gosh, man. You know what's terribly divisive to this country? Donald Trump as president. She seems more like a GOP rep. Is it because the GOP does not like women? If he did nothing wrong, he won't be impeached. But he told you what he did, and the whistleblower might have something to add. Presidents have laws to obey. They're not kings or dictators, even if their minions try to assist in getting them there. Did we not map this? I mean, like, did we not lay this out at the beginning? Did we not lay this out? Because look.
Yo, I created an entire surprise segment.
You did.
That segment was like for Will, but
spur of the moment.
But see, I didn't know it was coming either. I was just looking at my phone. I'm always just trying to look for like new breaking news and whatnot, and so.
Are we not receiving the information the right way?
Maybe not. There's a chance. There is a chance. I would just need to hear something that is convincing. I need to hear something challenging. Like, believe me, if it's out there, I definitely want to hear it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but unfortunately, like, when it comes to certain people, in this case it's Tulsi Gabbard, man, nobody wants to step up to the plate and offer a defense on a particular situation. Everything keeps getting brought back to she went against the DNC and stepped down for Bernie Sanders. I was like,
you know what list she has herself on now?
What?
As of Democratic politicians, Democratic Congress members who do not support the impeachment inquiry, Dan Lipinski.
We just got through talking about Dan Lipinski the last show.
In Illinois, Dan Lipinski. 3rd District, I believe, Dan Lipinski. One of the most conservative members of the House, Dan Lipinski.
Anti-abortion.
Oh, gosh.
Anti-any health care. Anti-climate change.
I don't see... maybe I'm not familiar with... I mean, there's only a few of these names that are on this list. Sharice Davids, we've talked about her. Kansas, newly elected Sharice Davids. She was the one that was, I believe she's a Native American. I believe she's lesbian as well. But she beat a progressive that was in the race. The one that Bernie backed, also, I believe, in Kansas. I can't remember the guy's name. But remember, she ran a very centrist campaign where she was like non-committal or anything. She pretty much just ran like a DNC playbook campaign. Like, okay, yeah, we're for healthcare. Yay! I'm not going to tell you how. Just healthcare.
And then
it was very non-committal. It was so bland.
Her campaign heavily focused on her ethnicity
Yes.
or identity?
Yes.
As a native?
Yeah, as a native. I think she was a former MMA fighter.
So that too.
Yep. But she is definitely centrist. That's one of them that I can remember. Torres Small, another freshman in Congress in New Mexico, who we covered. Looked like she was going to lose the race, but then I believe it was days after she actually pulled ahead. Once they kept counting, and she actually pulled away. She won the race. She is a freshman Democrat. She's a centrist. We talked about that. She's a centrist. I don't see, again, maybe I'm not familiar with some of these names. I have no idea, but I don't see another progressive on this list.
I'm not going to sit up here and say, hey guys, you got to completely reevaluate Tulsi Gabbard. I'm not even asking for that. I'm just, requesting that people look at the entire picture and not take all criticism as some sort of smear, because it kind of comes off as cultishness, and it's kind of weak, man. Like, hey, there's no politician that's perfect. If Bernie Sanders is not perfect, we can sit up here on this show being supporters of Bernie Sanders and offer genuine criticism without, feeling some kind of way about it. Because this system is as good as Bernie Sanders is. He definitely has limitations. But it's like we're not gonna get all butthurt about those limitations. I see people express genuine critique as far as limitations of him as a politician and maybe his campaign, because his campaign are, it's comprised of human beings.
Yeah.
So obviously it's not gonna be perfect. Anybody on this team, fair criticism. But I just don't understand why, when it comes to her, it just seems like there's no valid criticism. There's none, not all, not at all. Like, no matter where I go, no matter what alternative news outlet does a story on Tulsi Gabbard, I don't care how honest it is. I'm telling you, they can list off 10 things that they like about her and where she, impresses them. But if they list 3 things,
Yep.
2 or 3 things, like, hey, this is what's problematic and maybe you should look at it. I'm telling you.
Described as unfair.
It's described as unfair, described as an attack, a hit job. You're just a corporate shill. Like all the pejoratives. I'm like, they just gave her credit for like a number of things. They just said, hey, this is problematic and thinks you should look at it. And you just interpret that as like the most heinous of, the heinous act of disrespect. Like, come on, y'all. Like, I don't like. There's nobody's perfect, and I would like to hear any Tulsi Gabbard supporter explain how she can get better and what she can get better at. That's all. There has to be something.
I'll read some comments. Jeremiah Maddox said Tulsi's interview with Dave Rubin was horrible. I was in total support with her until then. I wasn't in total support at that point, of course, because there have been things that led up to that. But yeah, I agree. It was definitely horrible. Chiratarasu, I don't know if that's how you say it, but said AOC's foreign policy isn't the greatest either. Her takes on Israel-Palestine were not great. I'm not sure that her, actually, like her foreign policy, I can't point to anything to where I'm like, I don't like that. Her takes on Israel-Palestine were sloppy. And that's what we said about it. They were sloppy. She kind of fumbled over her words, and she used the word occupation and then was like, I'm not sure if I used the right word. So it was very sloppy. She actually did use the right word. No matter if you support to no end Israel, supportive of the occupation or not, it is what it is. It's an occupation. So I didn't like that she had to like kind of apologize or kind of like had to excuse her words. It was sloppy. But yeah, I don't think I have problems with her foreign policy though. Marlon, I think Marlon makes a good point. I don't want Trump to be impeached because Mike Pence. I can understand with that. I can understand your point, but if something is being done by the president, which
there's somebody who I don't like that's behind him, so we shouldn't hold him accountable.
Yeah.
That's
like if he is involved in a criminal action and he's acting like a dictator, like, no, I'm not gonna do it, even though the law requires me to do it.
That's a reasonable.
You're just gonna let him get away with it?
I would say that apprehension is reasonable.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a definitely reasonable apprehension because you are looking ahead.
Yeah.
So I understand that.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't want Mike Pence as president.
Yeah,
Oh,
hell no, we won't.
No.
But that doesn't mean it's kind of like if there was some corruption going on at a company and they were cheating people, or they were cheating on their taxes, or they were fudging their numbers, they were engaging in stuff like that, like Enron was doing, right? It was inflating their wealth, over exaggerating their wealth, or I don't know, lying, to their shareholders, whatever the case is. What if it was only like one of the people or two of the people that were like really responsible for it, and maybe somebody in the company didn't know about it? You would not like elect to just not hold those individuals in the company accountable for it, simply because maybe somebody who is worse may step up in the position.
You still have to
hold that person accountable.
Exactly. But I think, you know what, I'm willing to say one thing. Before the election of Donald Trump, many people were saying that Mike Pence would have been more dangerous than Donald Trump. Can anybody make that point right now? Can anybody make that case right now? That Mike Pence is going to be more dangerous? If Donald Trump is actually removed from office, which I don't believe that's going to happen anyways, even makes it to the Senate and there's a trial, I don't believe you're going to get 67 votes. So even if it does actually end up happening and he's removed from office and Mike Pence is the president, can anybody make the case that he's going to be more dangerous?
And I think, like, what does more dangerous mean? Like, when people say some X is going to be more dangerous, I'm not really sure what that means. Just maybe bad in different ways.
It could be. I don't know. All right, we have a caller, so we're going to welcome that caller onto the stream. 919 area code, you're on the air live.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, how you doing?
That's good. This is Calvin.
Calvin, nice to hear from you.
Where you from, Calvin?
I'm outside of Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh, word, that's what's up. Raleigh's a nice little city, man.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's okay.
Either.
Now, I heard Mayor Pete today talking about his plan. He unveiled his Medicare for those who want it, Medicare for all for those who want it. And I'm like, that's so disingenuous. And he's like, I want to give people choices. I don't want to take their choice away. And I'm like, you're not taking anything away from them.
Exactly.
I mean, you're giving them health care, but this is what they're disingenuous. They're dishonest. And they're like, what we're going to take away? We're going to take away your premiums. That's what we're taking away. You're going to have health care. We're going to give you health care and take the middleman out of it. But it's so disingenuous. And I'm like, that's what, I was like thinking to myself, but so many times he said, we want the American people to have freedom, have choice. Okay, the American people, they have demanded, Medicare for all. Even a certain percentage of Republicans want, single payer.
Of course.
And so for that argument, it doesn't make any sense to me. But it's just a lot of things don't make any sense when the majority of the American public wants some type of form of gun control. But do they give them choice on that? No. They do what the powers that be tell them to do. Or else they would have done something already. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents that was flying around in my head. But anyway, I appreciate you guys. Later.
Well, we appreciate you
man.
calling
Thank
in,
you, Calvin. Yeah, man. I agree with Calvin, man. I saw that, man. I saw that junk. It was so weak, man. He's trying to appeal to this, I don't know, he's trying to appeal to some soft spot that he thinks exists in voters that points to some, say, I trust you. I trust you, American people. And I was like, what does that even mean? I trust you to make the right decision. That's just him trying to pander to some emotion within people in order to, keep insurance companies solvent. That's what he's trying to do. Come on. Now, that junk comes off as whack to me. It comes off as whack and weak.
The choice people care about are their healthcare professionals. They care about their healthcare professionals. They care about their healthcare facilities. They care about the medication. That's the kind of choice that people have right now, that's the choice people want. Okay, now would that choice be given to them with Medicare for all? Of course it would. Now, would the choice to decide who your insurance carrier is that going to be provided to them? No. Now, who cares about that? Because if this was an actual issue, then employers would be soliciting the assistance of employees. Yo, who do you think we should go with this year in terms of healthcare coverage? We can go with Aetna. We can go with UHC.
Let's take a vote
with Blue Cross.
Let's take a vote.
Let's take a vote. Let's have a democratic process, and then you're gonna vote and determine which carrier we bring about for this year. Does that happen? Does that happen?
He's trying to present this case as if people will be disappointed that Blue Cross Blue Shield or Aetna won't be in the mix anymore.
Oh.
You mean to tell me? You mean to tell me that
we're gonna cut into their profits? Oh man, that's the worst news I got today. Get out of here, man. All right, we got another caller. This is, if I can find the screen.
Yeah, I know it kind of disappeared.
It did disappear.
I noticed that.
The hell?
I was like, where'd it go? And he didn't click anything off.
Nah, it just be disappearing sometimes, man. It just trying to get this. All right, it just disappeared. All right. Anyway, all right. 617 area code. You're on the air live.
Hey, Mike and Will, it's Ben. How are you doing?
Ben, nice to hear from you.
Ben from Massachusetts.
Ben from Massachusetts.
Of course.
Elizabeth Warren State.
Mm-hmm. That's your girl,
Yeah,
right?
Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, she's progressive, I'm told. So
He said he's
I
told.
like how you said that with emphasis.
Yeah.
Kind of pointed there. Just
hey, I do have some points. Last Thursday, I think you guys talked about Joe Kennedy primarying Ed Markey from my area here.
That's right.
So right now, Joe Kennedy is my House of Representatives. He's like our AOC, and then Ed Markey is our senator.
Mm-hmm.
So by all accounts, it's definitely a primary from the right, and you guys were spot on that. And I'm glad to see that you recognize that, even from all the way down in South Carolina. You could see that. And the difference is that Markey was obviously a co-sponsor of the Green New Deal,
Yes.
more than any other senator,
Yes.
really even more than Bernie and Warren were. And, the more I hear about the Green New Deal, it's not just about climate change.
right.
The New Deal. The New Deal was about, I'm not an expert on it, but I'm learning all this stuff. The New Deal was about things like, workers' rights. It was about minimum wage. They wanted to get a Medicare for all system done at that time, and they only started with the 65-plus demographic. That's what the New Deal is about. And the Green New Deal is saying that we need that again, and we're going to take advantage of the Green Revolution as well. So it's combating climate change and giving us a New Deal. Even if it was it's like a New Deal is what it is. So the only other thing about Kennedy is he's younger, he's hipper, and I actually went to the Massachusetts Democratic Convention, and Elizabeth Warren spoke there, and Ed Markey spoke there too. And, the only thing I can say about Markey that's a negative is he is I don't want to be an ageist. I don't like when people hate on Bernie, but Ed Markey does seem not quite as cool and hip as
Right.
Joe Kennedy, and I think that's going to hurt him because, Joe Kennedy's always going around with his, bright red hair and, his blue jackets and stuff, and he's giving his rebuttals and everything. So I think Markey's kind of in for a world of hurt. So we'll see how it pans out.
So what you're talking about is something that I always hate to talk about, but that's something that is reality, and that's popularity. That's just how people perceive a candidate, and it doesn't have anything to do about their political positions. Doesn't have to do anything to do with their honesty. Doesn't have to do with their integrity or anything like that. How good they would be in a position, just how they come off. Just if they're personable, can maybe tell a joke or something like that. Maybe a little bit younger. You can identify with them more. That's the aspect of politics that I really can't stand. I hate it.
And people are going to vote against their own best interest, and just kind of vote for the cool guy. So that's the way it's going to go. And basically, he was very recently endorsed Medicare for all, but he's one of those guys where you know that they don't mean it. It's just like Elizabeth Warren, where they're like, "Oh, everybody wants Medicare for all. Oh, so do I. Oh, it didn't pass. Oh, shoot.
Hold on. Let me stop you right there. So Kennedy endorsed Medicare for all?
He did, because one of the things that got me engaged in my local Democratic Party was I wanted to go there and complain about Kennedy and how he just is not for Medicare for all. He's not for any of these things. And right before I went to the first meeting, he like endorsed it like 2 or 3 days before. So the thing I was going to go and kind of like spout off about, like I always do, like I went there to do that, and like I had to like cross off some of my notes. But I still did bring up that he dragged his feet on it. He only did it like 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, because when we talked about him after the State of the Union address, it was last year. He hadn't signed on for that at all. That was a criticism that we had of him, of course.
I think it still applies, because he's one of those guys who's like, I endorse Medicare for all, but I also endorse Medicare for all who want it. And if you don't want it, I'm not going to take that away from you. That's your right as an American. So I like the last caller too. I think it seemed like I hadn't heard from him watching the show the last couple months. So if that was a new caller, that was a great call. It's always good hearing new people. I had a couple of things. Joe Biden on the natural gas with his son Hunter. I mean, getting paid $50,000 a month, and then if any of that is true, I mean, what Trump did, it doesn't take away from what he did, withholding aid from Ukraine until that's like extortion or something. It's not. I don't know if it's extortion, but it's not blackmail. But it's like you're withholding money from them until you get your bidding. That's not his money. Okay. So the natural gas thing with Biden, though, and his son getting $50,000 a month to be on a board, and allegedly he has no credentials besides being the president's son, like that's problematic. But
that's just like privilege. That's just privilege. That's just
it's privilege.
That's just like it's whack. But that's just an instance where someone was given access based on the position their father had. It's whack, but I mean, I don't know if you can say there's something criminal behind that.
I think that it is criminal. It might not be against the laws that we have, but what it is it's basically it's corruption and it's favoritism, and it's bad for the stockholders. It's taking advantage. So if it's not illegal, it should be illegal to hire somebody based on that. But the other thing I wanted to say, obviously, we're getting a lot of flack about if you don't support Warren, you're sexist. If you don't support Kamala Harris, you're racist. But nobody ever says, like, if you don't support Bernie, you're an ageist. But obviously, like, no one's going to go to bat for Bernie. Do you guys get on Facebook, do you get the Pete Buttigieg ads where you can go win a trip to South Bend and have pizza with Pete?
No.
I have not seen those ads. I don't know. I don't know how active I am.
I see a lot of Tom Steyer ads.
Yes, definitely Tom Steyer.
Yeah, I don't see the Pete Buttigieg ads. I even see Tulsi Gabbard ads.
I see Tom Steyer ads a lot.
That's funny. I don't get any of those. But I get a ton of Pete Buttigieg ads, and it's always like pizza with Pete, So like, he won't offer you Medicare for all. He won't offer you like a true Green New Deal, but you can have pizza with Pete. So, like, his whole thing is like, I think the American people really like pizza, and if I'm right, then I'll get your $1 donation to have a pizza party with me. So. It's just so, like, odd how on one end of the spectrum we have these people pulling the window to the right into the center. And there are people like, Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden definitely, and all these other people who are sticking around with their 0%, like Amy Klobuchar. They're all just there to kind of pull the window to the right, or whatever that window, everyone's always saying, the Overton window.
Yeah.
And then you had somebody like de Blasio. Like, you remember him on the first night of the debates when nobody was expecting anything from him?
Right.
And he kind of just, like, he came out swinging and
He
he
did.
did a decent job.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, you know, even though you have, if it was down to Elizabeth Warren, Biden, and Sanders, who's going to look like the outcast? Pretty much Biden's going to look like the outcast.
Right.
But when you have Warren and Bernie, and then you have all these other centrists out on the stage, who ends up looking like the outcast? So the reason the DNC is keeping 20 people around is to make sure that Overton window stays where they want it to be. Oh, man.
I
So
can't. I just looked at Facebook for you, too, and I got a Mike Pence ad. Yeah, Mike Pence ad. Do you approve of President Trump? So, yeah. I don't ever get Pete Buttigieg ads. I never see that. Pizza with Pete.
Pizza with Pete. You can have pizza with Pete. It's like, and then I always comment, like, you know, he's exactly this sort of, like, you know, nobody that we need. You know, I don't know. I make fun of people, and then I always get hated on for it, but I try not to comment back too much because, like, it's just all like these middle-aged people who are just kind of like don't know anything about policy, don't know anything about what's best for them. I mean, it's just ugly. I mean, with Elizabeth Warren, it's the same thing. She's not going to fight for anything. One thing I wanted to say about Elizabeth Warren, and then I'll let you guys get back to it. You know, the way that her campaign worked is during her exploratory committee, during her exploratory campaign, she took corporate donors, and she took, like, whatever, I don't know, PAC donors, corporate donors, big money donors, all during her exploratory campaign and her Senate campaign. She had a huge war chest. She rolled that war chest into her primary campaign. So she started out with a huge amount of money. Then all of a sudden, for, like, you know, during the campaign, when the primaries, when everybody wants to make sure you're not taking corporate money, she's turned it off, even though she's already taken it all. Then she's turned it off for now. And then during the general, she's going to turn it back on. So you already knew that, right? But here's the thing that I want to add on to this, that I want to just say. When the economy is going good, Republicans say, we can't raise the minimum wage. The economy is going good. If we raise the minimum wage, we're going to screw it up. Then when we're in a recession, they say, we're in a recession. We can't raise the minimum wage. We're in a recession. Right. So it's convenient to always say that. So what's going to happen with the Democrats and Elizabeth Warren, they're going to say, well, we can't unilaterally disarm. We have to beat Trump. And then they're going to go through, and let's say that's two, when they get into power. Then when they're in power, they're going to say, we're in power now. We can't disarm because they're going to be taking the money. So
exactly. We got to stay in power.
That's the way they got elected. So why would they disband?
And we got to prevent, another Trump from getting there.
Like, it's ridiculous. If you're gonna take dirty money, we know they come. We know it comes with strings attached. No, come on. Like, it's a ridiculous argument, and it's one we heard from Hillary Clinton. Yeah, we got to do something about Citizens United. Yeah, this dirty money leads to corruption. We got to do something about it. But I'm going to take it. It won't corrupt me. Once I get in the office, I'm going to do something about it. That's cute. That is cute.
I just want to let you guys know I'm not always this mad. I'm not like a grumpy old person like that. Like Bernie Sanders, I don't want you guys to get the wrong impression of me. Like I'm a real regular guy. Like I would definitely be down to have pizza with Pete. I'm not like that much of a curmudgeon. So, but I would never vote for the guy. And lately, it's been hard to like be a Bernie advocate because of how much hate he's getting all the time. And like to put it out there all the time, I'm like, maybe everyone's right about him and stuff. And like when I was at the Democratic convention and Elizabeth Warren was there speaking and stuff like that, do you think I could like wear a Bernie Sanders button? Like you really couldn't much. And like I know my mind is made up. I'm 100% going to vote for Bernie, and I'm just trying to figure out like how do we get people like on board, knowing that there's so much hate right now, where it's almost like, is it like not the time to push people for Bernie? Or I guess it's always the time, like it's always the season to do that, but it's getting a little bit rough right now. So, but I'll keep trying to be like tactful about it and see what we can do. So that's pretty much it.
All right, Ben. Well, we appreciate you calling in as always.
Yeah, likewise. I appreciate what you guys do, and I'll keep tuning in.
All right, have a good night, man.
All right, later.
All right, this is going to be the last call of the night, coming from the 313 area code. Call, you're on the air live.
Hi there, my name is Paul. I'm a first-time caller.
What'd you say your name was again?
Renee.
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 Yeah.
Nice to talk with you.
Nice to talk to you. I'm from Detroit.
Detroit.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm calling because I figure I would be the person to call in regarding Tulsi.
All righty.
Okay.
What you got
Yeah,
to say? What you got to say?
Yeah, and I want to say first and foremost, Bernie is my candidate. Like, I'm voting for Bernie. You know, I think ultimately by and far he is the best candidate. So I want to start with that preface right there. But there are a few things I do want to speak about, and not coming at it from a solely of a, oh my God, how dare you talk bad about Tulsi. It's more so of a, I think there are nuance to that. I would say, for one, first of all, regarding the whole, does she play both sides to some argument? Yes, she does. I do believe that. However, I think that criticizing her, for example, going on Dave Rubin's show, I don't think that in itself is a bad thing. To someone who is consistently, shut out from mainstream media, frankly, probably on par, if not arguably worse than Bernie with that. Whenever she is on mainstream media, we're not talking about her policies, we're not talking about her off-ads, we're not talking about her election security ads, we're not talking about her stop arming terrorists ads, we're talking about, oh my God, you're a dictator apologist. Why are you on? Why do you left us out? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Why do you, why don't you think we should bomb X, Y, and Z country with that? It's always about serious, always about some type of convoluted, stance on her foreign policy with that. Do I believe that she should have said, oh, well, I think that impeachment will lead, or impeachment going to lead to civil war? No, I think that's silly. I'm not going to say and defend that. I don't think that's I think that's a silly argument. Because as you said before, we're already divided.
Yeah.
The country's divided. There's nothing more that can be done about that. But I don't think that, and I agree that when she was on Dave Rubin, that, yeah, she didn't push back about that. No Democrats for open borders. But I don't think her going on that show, or frankly, Fox News in itself, is a bad thing.
And I don't think
that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I don't think that we have a problem with her. Like, just the simple fact that she went on to Dave Rubin's show, I don't think I have a problem
Williamson
with it.
went on there.
Yeah, true. But Marianne Williamson actually pushed back on what Dave Rubin was saying. So
we have an example.
And
I think
fair.
that's what we have an example. Like, we have an example of someone who seemed to be more steadfast in their position. Someone that seemed to be a little more confident in talking about things in an honest way, regardless of what platform she went on. Like,
it's about what she had to say while she was on
it's
Dave
about
Rubin's
what
show.
she
She didn't push back
problem.
on that open borders, on the gun argument, on the patriotism argument. No problem with her being on the show, but like, you have to. I guess you would have to ask yourself, okay, why is she not doing the things that you would expect her to do, given who she promotes herself to be? Why would she not do that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know, but now I also think about. I'm sorry. I also think about an interview she had recently with Neil Cavuto on Fox News, where she did push back. Ironically, but unlike what she did on Dave Rubin, where she did talk and push back about, for example, because she was questioning, why are you not for going to war in Iran? And she was saying, well, because Saudi Arabia is the issue. And Neil Cavuto looked at her like she didn't know he didn't know what he was talking about. What she was talking about with that. But I do take your point in that why push back in one instance and not in another? So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my gosh, Tulsi, you're wrong for attacking Tulsi in that way. She was wrong for doing that. But I think maybe not necessarily you all, but there are others who criticize her going on there in general. There are people who criticize her, not just her, but people like Glenn Greenwald and and Michael Tracy. How do you feel about them for going on Fox News in general, and they're being called all sorts of names and together? I don't think Tulsi, and just according to her ideology, I don't think she fits nicely into any sort of category. I don't think Tulsi herself calls herself a progressive, to be fair. She's essentially someone who's just speaking her truth. She has a bunch of her coalition, and she's recently made that October debate, so she's going to be on stage, whether you like her or not, frankly, with that. But she has progressives, she has Republicans, she has independents, and she, along with Sanders and Yang, I think are the main three could probably take anything from Trump's coalition with that. So I see where she has some progressive backing. She was one of the original co-sponsors of Medicare for All. Yep. She may not support the Green New Deal, but her off act is pretty supportive as well with that. She has some Election Security Act with that, where she supports paper ballots to combat election security questions. So people question Russia's attacking our elections. So she's proposing an answer to that, but no one wants to speak about that. And she did, and ultimately, yeah, she's against anti-regime change work, but it's still at the same time talking about still droning terrorist countries. So you can talk about how, yeah, ultimately you should not overall anti-war, and how that ultimately doesn't solve the problem with that. So I'm not here to say, oh my God, leave Tulsi alone. I'm not here to say that. I'm just here to provide us a different, I guess, more nuance to the Tulsi discussion, because it was about some feelings.
You say that, well, you don't know if she would call herself a progressive, and I don't know. I feel like I've heard her say that she's a progressive, but you could possibly be right. I think my argument against her will always start there, because that's where I see a lot of her followers at, in the progressive lane. And they feel like she is the most progressive in the race.
She does have a progressive platform.
She does.
I would disagree with her. Yeah.
It's extensively progressive. I mean, I would say on the same level as Bernie Sanders.
Yes, but again, like, look, I don't really care what you call yourself either, because look, labels are labels. I'm okay with calling myself a progressive. Some people, and we've had that conversation on the show too, should we start calling ourselves democratic socialists or social democrats? I think that's better, this and that. Labels are labels. Some people, go further than others, whatever. I mean, maybe it doesn't matter, maybe it does. So maybe she doesn't go by the progressive label, whatever. But if you look at her, if you look at her ideology, if you look at her platform, the things that she represents, the thing that she touts, then you would say that she has a pretty progressive platform. I think anybody could say that. So when that platform does not match the words that come out of her mouth, if she's for justice and if she's for accountability and,
protecting democracy,
all these things, but then what comes out of her mouth is kind of, like protectionism. I mean, we've talked about how she has been, it looks like she's been caping for Joe Biden in the debates. She kind of pushed back on this argument. Oh, Joe Biden's not racist. Nobody ever said that he was racist. It was, he said some foolishness about some segregationist Democratic senators back in the day and how offensive it was, and he shouldn't have gone there and saying that they weren't the enemy. It was just a bunch of foolishness that he said, but I don't believe anybody was like, yeah, he's a racist. But Tulsi Gabbard went there to try to protect him, and it was just like, why are you doing the most to protect somebody like Joe Biden when nobody's making that case against him? It just looks weird.
She was doing that. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. She was, and I don't disagree with it. And this is where, again, I think there's kind of, I think there's kind of both, I want to say two sides to it, but yeah, she defended Joe Biden. I don't think she should have done that, because our ultimate goal was to attack Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Her ultimate goal was criticizing Kamala Harris on her mess. But especially when she ended up having the same position as Joe Biden, but she didn't have to defend Joe Biden to do that. But I think y'all said that on a previous show.
Yeah, we did.
But that's, again, like, I don't agree with her strategy on that. I think that was bullshit.
Yeah, I agree. Like, for me, look, again, I we don't try to, engage in the, ridiculous arguments about Tulsi Gabbard, criticize her for going on, right-wing media. You could say something that looks weird, this and that. You did make the point that she is, somewhat forgotten when it comes to like CNN and, MSNBC. She's not on that much, and when she is on there, she's challenged with these ridiculous arguments. So I agree with that. But it's just, like I said, that there's too many questions I have based on the things that she has said, like, that just don't strike me the right way. It's just very confusing given who she propels or promotes herself to be. And given this current situation with, the impeachment inquiry, I really, again, it's not surprising given, some of the other things that I've heard her say now, but again, given who she is, why would she try to pump the brakes on something like this when Trump, there's so many different instances where Trump has just, just not followed regular norms, has broken the law, all these different things. And now we have a case where I just, like I said, I just have so many questions about who Tulsi Gabbard, like who she actually is, and I don't know.
I don't think she's the most. I guess, yeah, I don't know either. On that point, I guess I can't really. I mean, just more ardent and more enthusiastic Tulsi supporters than I am with that. But I will say that, you know, under the impeachment period, on that point with that, and that's where I stand on it is, look, I mean, I have mixed feelings about impeachment myself. With that, it's clear that for a reason she doesn't support it, or clearly she thinks it's divisive, and we can go into the whole divisiveness argument and how I already said I thought that was silly with that, but there's more concrete things to go after him than this apparent Ukrainian stuff that tipped a lot of people over the edge with that. But I just don't think that she's always as eloquent a speaker and articulating why she does or may not believe something. And I think that is a criticism of hers, to be honest, because she's not always clear in what she says. Yes, ma'am, the statement she made, for example, even after the second debate, for example, her statements about Medicare for all, where she implied that she supported a public option. Right. You know, a whole bunch of people who were going off and saying, like, you know, who were saying, oh my goodness, you know, she supports the public option. Even though, yeah, she was the original co-sponsor, even fucking Tim Ryan was the original co-sponsor of Medicare for all. He supports Jai Appel's bill for that matter, and he's going to Medicare for all altogether. Mm-hmm. For being a co-sponsor by herself is not for that. So I'm not going to sit there and say Tulsi is always right or even explain herself clearly, because she does it. Yeah. She doesn't, you know, with that. But I don't know. With the I just wanted to say my thoughts about Tulsi, so I don't take it too much time.
All right. Well, we appreciate those thoughts, and like I said, I mean, I think a lot of what you said is rational. You don't seem to be somebody that is just gonna give whatever candidate your unconditional support, and you know, I mean, that's what we get. I mean, look, you have, I think, like I said, I think you have a take that is reasonable. You don't think there's all bad with Tulsi. You don't think there's all good with Tulsi, and not just Tulsi, other candidates as well. So, I mean, really, that's all we can ask for. Just, you know, responding to the issues, responding to the things candidates say and what they do, you know, and just leave it at there. So.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, we appreciate it, Renee.
No problem. All right.
You know, disagreements aside with Tulsi Gabbard, this is what I would like to see from Tulsi. I would like to see, like, her embody, as far as like rhetoric goes. I would like to see her embody her actual platform.
That's what
if you go look at this woman's platform, you're like, damn.
That's why it's surprising given the platform.
Yo, damn, I was like, bro, like, yo, there's
really
really nothing like bad I could say about it. It doesn't seem as if she is like carrying that platform with like a torch in her hand. It doesn't seem like she is it just seems very lackluster, like her presence, like even during interviews or during on the debate stage. Like you said, like you don't know what to draw from her. You don't know what to get from her. I just wish she would like be more of a presence. You know what I'm saying? I just wish she would be like, I don't know. It just like I said, like if your platform is your platform and the platform you have on your website is an embodiment of who you are, I would expect to see more of like
you champion what's in your platform.
I understand. Like maybe Tulsi sees herself in a certain way, and maybe she has a certain strategy. Maybe she sees her self involved in this, you know, campaign or in a campaign for president. Maybe she sees that a lot differently than how we see her. Maybe she is not necessarily in it to win it. So it's not necessarily about her. Maybe she is there to play interference for somebody else. Like I said, like I don't know. Like I said it is kind of confusing, some of the positions she takes based on certain circumstances. If we're looking at that, yeah, she's suspect. If we're looking at her platform, I can understand why people support her. So I can't really like.
But what about Elizabeth Warren's platform? Elizabeth Warren's actual platform is not bad.
Okay, but now
when she speaks, but when she speaks, that's where it gets into trouble.
Okay, can you, other than like some of the instances where we disagree with Tulsi, has she like dodged questions like Elizabeth Warren has in the same way, where she kind of takes somebody's question and reformats it, or she takes somebody's question and just completely retools it to talk about something else and doesn't give a
Not in the
straightforward answer.
Elizabeth Warren way.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't think that like the progressives that support Tulsi Gabbard make that comparison.
But
As far as progressivism when it comes to policy, I don't think that's why.
But okay, this is an aspect here though. With Elizabeth Warren, do you feel that she is trying to endear herself to conservatives? I don't. I don't get that feeling whatsoever. I feel that she's firmly on the left centrist side or whatever. I don't feel that she's trying to make a case for conservatives. With Tulsi Gabbard, you get that feeling. Some of the things that she says, some of the things that she says, it feels like she has one audience, and that is not progressives, liberals, centrist even.
I get
It's
it.
conservatives.
I get it. And I think specifically to kind of hone in on when you say trying to be endearing to a certain group, it's kind of trying to be endearing to them in a certain way. Because if you're trying to capture their attention, but you're using straight policy and not trying to pander to them, those are two different things.
That is.
If she was trying to, I guess, break down her policies and how they would benefit that particular group of people, I've seen her do that. I can't deny I've seen her do that. But when you're talking about pandering, she's pandering to the worst aspects of that group. That's what I have a problem with. I don't think that's necessary. That's why I say it doesn't make sense, and there's got to be a strategy to it. Like, that's why I went out on a limb and said, if it doesn't make sense, either she's disingenuous or there's a strategy to it. And if there is a strategy to it, and she's trying to pander to these very superficial and quite toxic aspects of a particular group of people, I think that's a bit dangerous. I understand it, because sometimes you got to warm people up to buy into progressive policies. I understand that, but I think that's dangerous. I think that's dangerous when you play into the lower nature of those ideologies. I'm just saying, it could be a strategy. I'm not like writing that. I'm not just writing that off.
But
I
for
don't
me,
like it.
But how could her platform is one thing, but when you see her appearances, when you see some of the comments, how can you trust which one is real? Because again, those comments don't line up with her platform, with her supposed ideology. So again, which one is real? You would have to just make a choice here. Well, she's saying one thing, but I think what's written here, I think that's what's real. She's just doing something. Pay attention to that. How can you not pay attention to that? You would have to ignore that or just say that's just part of the design. But what gives you that feeling? Why are you so sure that that's really like her design? She's just doing this. She's just pump faking, but she's real over here. I don't know that. Like, nobody really knows these candidates.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said either she's being disingenuous or she's playing a game. It's either one of those two things. It has to be one of those two things. Either she's being willfully disingenuous and kind of trying to pander to the other side, or she's kind of knowingly playing a game in order to kind of get people on her side.
That's not somebody I can lend my support
Well, see,
to.
then they're not. I don't want to seem like I'm a Democrat that is unapproachable. I have one of the most progressive platforms, but I don't want to make myself, look unapproachable. I know you're catering to people's ignorances in that instance. I know you're pretty much infantilizing somebody. I don't want to call out the fallacies or call out the problematic ideology of a group because I want them to buy into my progressive platform. Again, either she's being disingenuous or it's a very dangerous strategy. That's the two main things it could be.
On the campaign trail, if she's being this cordial with conservatives? What would happen if she's actually in the White House? We saw President Barack Obama many times reach across the aisle, try to reach bipartisanship. Always failed. Pretty much always failed. Always wanted to do favors. Always wanted to work with the other side, even though they had no intention of working with you.
Well, I do think like there's a good argument to be made that that her using "we are divided" as some sort of blockade or some sort of reason to why she doesn't agree with an impeachment inquiry. Well, if you look at her platform, go to her website, that her policy proposals can be considered divisive.
They could, of course.
Mostly all of them. If you're talking about, because the conversation has to do with her attempting to appeal or pander to conservatives, if you look at her damn platform, none of that shit. None of it. Almost none of it. Maybe some Social Security shit, but most of that would not appeal to conservatives or GOP leadership. None of that stuff.
So
all this stuff is considered, all stuff on the
would
website
she
to me
capitulate?
is divisive.
Would she capitulate to the other side?
I don't know that. I don't know that.
I think there's reason to believe it's possible.
It's possible, but again, like I said,
I think you can say it's likely. I think you can say it's likely.
Like you said, is she pump faking? Is she doing like a serious pump fake? That's the question.
When we talked about Amber Geiger, right? A lot of the conversation about Amber Geiger is if she was actually tired or not. Like, and if she was tired, was she just overtired to the point where she just did not pay attention to multiple details? Being on a higher level, being in a different parking garage, not paying attention to the doormat, not paying attention to the number on the door. I mean, just so many different things that she just completely just disregarded because she was so tired. Now, we talked about how she was texting that other officer at the time. After the shooting, she was on the phone with that. Well, you know what? Let's go before that. I'm not even going to deal with that. I'm talking about before that. So she was sexting the officer. She was texting the officer in the hours and minutes leading up to the shooting. Now, you can't say definitively that because of those details, she was not tired enough. Like, no, because of all this, she was not tired enough. She knew what she was doing. It wasn't a mistake, this and that. You can't definitively say that, but it doesn't look good that she was able to do these things, text while she was driving home or whatever, in the minutes leading up to the shooting. It doesn't look good. It looks like she was probably aware enough to prevent a disaster like that. It looks like that. So, with Tulsi Gabbard, I'm only dealing with what it looks like right here. And what she's giving me is it looks like she would capitulate to Republicans because that's what she's been doing.
Okay, so the same assessment when it comes to optics that you issue for Elizabeth Warren is the same. You're doing that for regardless of how progressive they look.
Right. I think the difference again. I think the difference between, for me at least, the difference between Elizabeth Warren and Tulsi Gabbard at this point, I don't trust them both. Both of them I do not trust. But to this point, I get a worse feeling from Tulsi Gabbard choosing to focus on conservatives. Like, it's one thing to, I guess, try to reach centrist Democrats. That's one thing. But if you're trying to reach the right side, if you're trying to reach conservatives,
superficially, you're trying to reach conservatives in a way that creates division. That's kind of ironic, considering you don't want to go forth with an impeachment inquiry because you say we're divided, but the very thing she is trying to use to appeal to conservatives is actually what encourages us being divided. Like you said, Democrats aren't as patriotic. Democrats want open borders. Democrats want to take away those guns and not pushing back on those things. That's why we're divided.
That's bad.
Obviously, Tulsi Gabbard, you're not pushing back in and of itself it's not going to, I don't know. It's like, again, she's not necessarily responsible for it. It's just that, to me, I just felt like she was encouraging that division she says exists. That's the very thing she was doing. That division would exist with or without her. But I think on that show, she kind of proved that she is not capable of healing that divide.
No,
because healing that divide has to do with being honest about where both parties are.
Now, if Elizabeth Warren was on the same show and fielded the same questions, would you expect her to give the same type of responses?
Nope. Not even Elizabeth Warren.
Not even Elizabeth.
I don't think anybody, actually. Not any one of the Democratic candidates.
So that's troubling. Like I said, I'm just saying, it's very troubling. Up until that point, I don't know if we had an abundance of evidence to say that, she is really trying to appeal to the right wing. But when she goes on that show, and she one after another, right wing argument, I accept that. Yep, another right wing argument, yep, I accept that too. Like, what are you doing?
I think that just seemed, I don't believe she actually thinks that. I honestly don't believe she thinks that in her heart of hearts.
At this point, I do.
I think she went on. I think she went on that show, and she already knew how she was going to deal with Dave Rubin. I'm pretty sure she did her homework. She knew exactly what show she was going on. I don't think she wanted to waste time in a contentious battle about whether this is true or not. She just wanted to be like, I don't agree with it. I'm just saying it was whack, but I'm just thinking about her mindset here. Like, whatever. I'm not even going to deal with that. I wish what she would have done was just say, I'm not so sure that's true, but here's my outlook.
That's the way she comes across a lot. When you hear her speak, it seems as though whatever she says, she has taken the time to actually process it in her head. Like she says things very carefully. She chooses a word very carefully. I think she's a very good orator. So when she doesn't have enough wherewithal, she doesn't have the capacity to intake this information, realize that it's bullshit, and push back on it just a little bit.
Chira Tarisu?
Yeah, I messed up with that.
Chira Tarisu. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But what do you think the word appeal means? In the chat, Chira Tarisu writes, I don't know if she's trying to appeal to right-wing arguments, but her handling of that interview was admittedly not good. What do you think the word appeal means? That's the key here. I don't want to get caught up on one word, but I have to, because like you said,
her giving into these arguments seems like
that is an
appealing.
appeal.
Yeah,
that's an appeal, because these questions were loaded questions. Like, these were like seriously loaded. They weren't like, sometimes people ask a question, but they're stating a position while asking a question. It was like that, but worse. Dave Rubin, when he asked the question, then sets up the question by making all these points where it's like, well, why are you asking me this? Why are you even asking me the question? You're making all the points, and you just want me to agree with them.
He sets up the question with a fallacy.
Sets up the question with a fallacy, and he's not asking questions. He's just asking you to explain why this thing is. It already is, not whether it is or not. It already is, and I want you to explain why this thing is.
But it's not. But Tulsi goes on to say, yeah, you're right. It is.
She says, you're right. Yes. She's actually agreeing. So it's not just the way she answered. It's she agreed with it. So that is an appeal to those. Go ahead.
I've seen some of the defense, and gotta call him out. Nico House, one of them, defending her, saying that.
Why she shouldn't have to defend.
She shouldn't have to defend. Well, no, she wouldn't defend the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is so corrupt, this and that. Why would she come to the aid of the Democratic? It ain't about that.
That's a different matter.
It's not about that. When going back to the shutdown argument, the shutdown of the government, she has the same exact position as the Democratic Party. All of the Democratic Party, all the centrists, the conservatives, the progressives, all of them, all of the Democratic Party was like, nah, we're not giving in to Trump. Nah, we don't agree with this. Even the conservative Dems were like, nah, we're not doing it. No, we're not budging. She has the same exact position. When she's asked who to blame, she blames Trump and the Democratic Party. Now, is it about not defending the Democratic Party, or is it about defending the position? If you know the Democratic Party has the same position as you, there's nothing, like, if you say that, you know what, corruption exists anywhere, and it can exist in the Democratic Party as well. There have been instances of corruption in the Democratic Party. Is anybody going to be like, oh, man, why are you going to say that about the Democratic Party, man? Nobody's going to say that, because we know that corruption exists anywhere and everywhere. No foul. No foul there.
There was actually some criticism that she could have offered in regard to the whole wall tug of war.
Criticism of who?
The Democratic Party, but like in a different way, and that wouldn't have been the time to issue it. If she would have offered a broader perspective of how, I guess, Democrats have capitulated to Republicans, and the conversation around the border, in some cases, can come off as toxic. Because if you're talking about the Democrats, they're not talking about building a wall, but what do they talk about when they want to compromise with Republicans? Increase security, right? Increase security. So it still comes off as, you know, hey, we may not want a wall, and we may not think that, you know, all immigrants are rapists and murderers. We may not think that, but we still want to spend government resources on, I guess, strong-arming immigrants at the border, being a force and being a presence. And not, I'm just saying that can still come off as being very insensitive to some people.
But nobody's against security at the border, though. There's nobody that's against security at the border. Nobody wants all structures gone. Nobody wants all points of entry gone.
But do Democrats as a party really want to deal with the economic factors that exist in other countries that cause, I guess, more people to immigrate to the United States? Again, that's what I'm saying. There's valid criticisms of Democrats as a whole in regard to immigration as a topic, and how basically both parties not dealing with other matters have contributed to this. If that was a criticism,
that would be taking it somewhere else.
And that's fine. But
on
that particular issue, I'm just giving you an example of how she could have tackled the entire issue
in a broader narrative.
But she didn't do it. She was just kind of being just unnecessarily contrarian.
I don't think the defense works that she shouldn't have the back of the Democratic Party or the DNC. If she has the same position as these people, the DNC or Democratic members of Congress, then there's no hidden of the Democratic Party that needs to take place. If you're just doing it just to do it, you look weak. You look like you're just out for blood, and that's not a good look. That's not a good look as a politician or somebody that is trying to gain some more support. No, because you just look like a hypocrite trying to condemn somebody else's actions that look just like yours. It looks ridiculous. If there's actually some meat there to chew on, if there's actually something to condemn within your own party, then do it. No, a lot of people, many people, including your supporters, definitely would not have any qualm with it whatsoever. But when you hit them for having the same position as you, I don't know where that goes. And for people that want to protect that, she doesn't owe many favors, so she should hit them with a disingenuous argument because the Democratic Party is corrupt. What about the Republican Party? Because on this issue, especially the wall, where we're talking about, isn't the Republican Party disingenuous? Don't they lie consistently all the time? Aren't they very divisive? So you would rather look to be appealing to the conservatives than the... Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Yeah, it is confusing. So it's almost like...
It's like saying that the Republican Party is not corrupt, but the Democratic Party is.
Maybe I'm just waiting on her to redeem herself. Maybe I've been waiting too long, but maybe I'm waiting her to redeem herself as far as how she comes off publicly. Because how she comes off publicly is going to determine whether she can form coalitions within the party to actually get things done or not. And I do think that's important. So if you don't know who she is, right, then does that matter? Because how far will her platform go if she does not form coalitions? How far does her platform go if she does not galvanize support within her own party? How far does her platform go if, like, rhetorically she's lacking? If members of her own party don't feel confident that she can negotiate? And I think that's maybe the problem that you have, because there is something to be said about how you rhetorically come off, not to just voters, but to your own party. So I don't know if she's capable of, like, I don't know, like being very, like, direct with certain things, because she has not been direct in how she deals with certain situations. So when it comes to implementing her policy, if for some, reason she wins, a long shot, but she is going to have to galvanize people. She's going to have to form coalitions. I'm not sure if she's capable of doing that, because it's not just about Tulsi here. So she's going to have to, like, in her rhetoric, be better, not just for me and not just for voters, but for those she's going to be seeking to build coalitions with. I don't know if she can do that. It just doesn't. If we seeing some of the shit that she says doesn't make sense, it's nonsensical, how is she going to kind of build bonds within her own party, or even in crossing the aisle? Some of the stuff just doesn't make sense.
It's not just one or two instances, and I think that's where I am right now. It's not just one thing that doesn't look right. It's not just two things. There's a whole list of problems that I have with Tulsi Gabbard that it doesn't line up with who she tries to portray herself to be. It doesn't line up with that ideology, with that platform that you talked about. It doesn't line up with it. So if it was maybe one instance, it'd be like, that doesn't look good. I mean, I'd like to hear an explanation. And even if the explanation didn't sound good, it'd be like, well, I don't know. Maybe she has a blind spot there or something. I don't know. Okay. It's not just one though. It's a multi. I'm telling you, we could maybe put together a list, but I'm telling you, it's a long one. It's a long one.
That's one of the reasons why I hope that they divide these debates into two parts. 6 candidates. I think that would allow more time for the moderators to, I guess, direct questions, or not just direct questions, but to get more detailed answers from the candidates. I think just a smaller group of people, I think, is better. And I think we need to hear more from Tulsi Gabbard, because most of the way she's kind of elevated herself and gained a lot of popularity, notoriety, even this is after the debate started, because she was popular before the debates, but when she was getting a lot of news coverage because of, her hitting Kamala in the gut. She hit somebody else in the gut too, I can't remember. But it's mainly Kamala.
It was Tim Ryan.
That's right, the first debate. So Tim Ryan and Kamala, she's very good at that. That's like, it's almost like, I wouldn't even call it going on the offensive, because none of these, she doesn't.
Well, it was on the offensive with Kamala.
It was on the offensive with Kamala, but it's, she usually makes good points on the back of when somebody else is insufficient in making their point, or somebody else is deficient in a certain way. She's very good at pointing that out and maybe pointing out what we should do. What I would hope is that with this smaller group of candidates is that people like Tulsi Gabbard get more direct questions, so then she can give more of a detailed analysis in regard to like specifics about her platform, and it be more about her and not always about, hey, look at what she did. That's hypocritical. What we should do is, we should have been doing X. I just wanted to be more focused on the candidate, especially Tulsi Gabbard, because quite frankly, if you want to know who she is and what she's about, I think it's good to use these little situations where she comes out as a guide, but I still think that somebody like her, she would need more time during the debate. Well, somebody like Andrew Yang, They need more time.
Yes,
they need more time.
But of course, I can only weigh the debate so much, and Elizabeth Warren sounds awfully good at these debates. Awfully good at these debates, but I don't trust Elizabeth Warren at all because I've seen her speak other times and I've seen her run from questions. When Tulsi Gabbard, and this is a comparison to make. When Tulsi Gabbard, actually no, let me start it with that. When all the candidates were asked, do they support Medicare for all that will eliminate private insurance? Who raised their hands?
Yeah.
Was it Tulsi Gabbard? She did not. Now, who did raise their hand? Kamala Harris raised her hand. Now, post-debate, Kamala Harris tried to backtrack. Oh, I thought you were talking about if I would give up my private insurance. That's why I took the question to mean. She got a lot of flack for that. I don't remember Tulsi Gabbard getting a lot of flack for not supporting Medicare for all that would eliminate private insurance. I just don't remember, especially from her followers. I don't remember her actually diving into a critique, like a justified critique of that display at the debate. I just don't remember it. Why is that? You got no answer?
Oh no, I'm just reading the comments.
I'm just saying.
Oh, well, you already know the answer. You already know the answer. Because those kind of little, I don't know, things represent chinks in her armor a little bit,
Well, Medicare for all doesn't eliminate private insurance altogether, but in the space of just basic healthcare needs, it does. They wouldn't be in that space anymore.
There's definitely some electives.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. But that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about these companies would have to shut down just because there's Medicare for all. No. I'm sure there would be some type of purpose for people to use them, but in the space of just basic healthcare needs, no, they wouldn't be around for that. That was the question. And that's anybody that supports Medicare for all, anybody that supports Bernie Sanders' Medicare for all bill understands exactly what it means. I know Tulsi Gabbard I know she understands it. So when she's given that question and she doesn't raise her hand,
I'm not even going to pronounce that name. You could try that. That long one.
What? This right here?
Yeah.
We need critical thinking.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I disagree. Hope Tulsi. I disagree. I hope Tulsi to take out more corporate Dems. Ultimately, this only helps Bernie. Okay. If that's the case, if she's taking out corporate Dems, then she would have to take some shots at other people other than Kamala Harris.
Why would she take shots at Biden?
Take shots at Biden. If that's the case, I have no disagreement with that. Like I said, that kind of goes along with what I said or what I suggested earlier about why is she there? What reason is she there? What purpose does she serve?
Again,
is she there as some sort of sniper? I don't know, but if that's the case, she would have to snipe more people than Kamala Harris. She would have to go after Biden. She'd have to go to Buttigieg. She would have to go after Beto.
But see, that's what
She'd have to go after Booker.
mean. Like, I'm left with so many questions because of what she does or does not do. She began her attack on Kamala Harris before the debate even started, talking about she lacked the temperament, she lacks the experience to be the commander-in-chief. And this was about foreign policy. The question that she fielded was about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but she chose to just focus on Kamala Harris. Why?
And Joe Biden has more of a record to criticize foreign policy.
Of course. But she chose to just leave him alone. So, again, at the debate, it was the same thing. Why?
So when something doesn't make sense, there is a strategy behind it. Because, the sensible route, the easiest route to go would have been Joe Biden. So you would have to avoid on purpose. So, yeah.
Look, all of these, like I said, all of these are relevant questions. I don't try to attack Tulsi Gabbard. I don't think I try to do that at all. I have legitimate, just an abundance of questions concerning Tulsi Gabbard, and she just strikes me. She rubs me the wrong way. I just, from what I hear, if I just had her platform to go on, I'd say, man, that's a pretty good damn platform. But when I hear her speak and when I hear her
waffling,
it's painful. It's like, if we think that Elizabeth Warren is shady, then I think, look, I'm coming to the same conclusion with Tulsi Gabbard. She's shady, man. You thought she was shady back in 2016. Remember that?
What was that based on? Like that she was on what TV was that? Indian TV or something?
No. We didn't know about that at the time. We didn't know that at the time. Remember we did a couple of Tulsi Gabbard videos back late 2016?
Oh yeah, it's Tulsi Gabbard the Progressive.
Yeah. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Yeah, they were just questions. I had some questions. Why are you asking all them questions?
I remember you ending the video like, man, I ain't feeling her. I ain't feeling Tulsi Gabbard.
That's my initial gut feeling.
Yeah.
I was still willing to give her credit, because we gave her credit, definitely, especially during
her taking that stance.
Yeah, taking that stance.
Stepping down from the DNC.
Stepping down from the DNC. Yeah. We thought that was a bold stance, but looking at what the DNC is.
I will say this, okay, and I don't know who said it, but talking about, maybe taking out corporate Dems, I'm not sure how effective she will be at doing that. But if she is saying the right things on the debate stage, then it might be helpful. It definitely might be helpful. So I don't. It depends what the subject is. You know what? I throw my hands up. I can't call Tulsi Gabbard. Again, I thought her position was actually Medicare for all, and then she didn't raise her hand for Medicare for all. I can't call her, man. I don't know who the hell she is, man. I give up. Straight up. All right. That was like an extra hour just
for her.
Because of that damn tweet. Just because of that damn tweet.
That's how it be. It be like that sometimes. At least we ain't talking about I don't know what. She writes for the Washington Post comparing Elizabeth Warren to Frederick Douglass.
Oh, hell.
You saw that shit?
Yeah, man. About the selfies.
Frederick Douglass sat for photographs that smashed stereotypes about black men. Could Elizabeth Warren, who was posed for nearly 60,000 selfies with supporters, accomplish the same for female presidential candidates? And her article is entitled Frederick Douglass Photos Smash Stereotypes. Could Elizabeth Warren selfies do the same?
Nah, yeah, it was a ridiculous article.
Yo,
because she often, I think she spends hours, just after her rallies and just posing for these selfies and how these selfies are gonna translate into something more than what they actually are, which are just selfies. At one point that I remember the author said something about, it will do something for women because women are not seen in powerful positions, so that will advance the fight of women. So
selfies are
representation. You will see a woman in power. So I'm like, man, there have been women in power for generations. Exactly. I'm talking about centuries. There have been women in power. Maybe in this country, I will give you in this country. I mean, look, we don't have a woman. We have not had a woman reach the president of the United States. We have not had a woman reach the White House. Okay, I will give you that. We have had a ton of women in the Congress. Just this past midterms, man, women dominated the conversation. There were many women elected to Congress. Now that was in the Democratic Party, of course, not in the Republican Party. I think there was one woman. I think it was one woman in the Republican Party that was elected. So, look, this isn't me saying that, we shouldn't see or fight to see more women that are in positions of power. I definitely want to see that. But selfies?
I think she's over-exaggerating what the images of Frederick Douglass actually accomplished.
She's over-exaggerating?
She's over-exaggerating. I don't know why she made that comparison.
But selfies are going to do a lot for women. Selfies with Elizabeth Warren are going to do a lot for the advancement of women.
Maybe she's saying that, first of all, I think it would probably have been okay if she just left Frederick Douglass out of it. It would have still been kind of whack.
Why make that?
I think she could have left Frederick Douglass out of it, and she could have still sold it, because she could have framed it in a way, I don't know, that says something about, the youth coming up, young girls being able to take a picture with somebody of importance, and they internalize that experience and they use that experience to empower themselves. She could have sold that. I took a selfie with,
Yeah.
a very accomplished woman who's gotten some things done.
I
blah,
failed.
blah, blah.
I
I'm just
understand. I
trying
just
to
fail to
reach,
see the
man. I'm trying to
correlation.
reach.
For me, it's a man. That's a very far reach to draw the correlation between a selfie and women are going to reach to new heights. How? Selfies? Really? Now, if you didn't see, now check this out. Now, we talk about representation. You didn't see women in Congress, okay? And then you saw women in Congress, then that's something. Like the first woman was elected to Congress, then the second and third. Like, damn, okay, yo, you want to meet those women? Cool. You want to talk to them? Cool. A selfie? No. If we're talking about actual representation, then that's definitely meaningful. A selfie.
That's just kind of
A selfie.
Catering to young folks. You know what I'm saying? Catering to social media culture, and that's fine if you're gonna frame it like that, and that's what it is. Just kind of like engaging in an activity that, I don't know, caters to social media culture, but I think this particular author made it into something that is not. And the tweet where she shared the article she wrote, man, it got ratioed. That shit got ratioed.
As it should.
It got ratioed.
As it should.
That's wow. That's an amazing ratio. Like, it got ratioed to hell. Like, she got it. She got lit up.
All right. Like to thank our callers tonight. We had Ben, we had Renee, and we had Calvin.
Calvin, yeah.
Yeah.
Renee, that name makes me think of the Locks. And that's what was no. What's the name of that? Not the Locks. What was the name of that song? Renee. Was that the Locks? No, that wasn't the Locks.
What Renee?
There was a song called Renee. Maybe somebody in the chat knows it.
I don't know what you're talking about. Renee. Kind of sounds familiar, but I can't call it. Yeah. Also want to highlight our super chatters tonight. Mana Talk, Howdy and Aloha. I guess that's what that means.
Lost Boys.
The Lost Boys. I still can't.
Yeah. You probably know it if you heard it.
I mean, I'm sure, but I can't. I don't
Lost
have it.
Boys,
You have it tuned in your head?
Yes. Ghetto love is the love that I live by. Yeah.
No,
A ghetto love is the law that I live by. Day to day, I wonder why my shorty had to die.
Okay, those lyrics sound familiar, but I can't.
I reminisce over my ghetto princess every day. Give it up for my shorty.
Don't get
No, okay.
What year was that? Like 93 or something like
Man.
that?
Overview.
Should say it right there. No.
Yep. Damn.
96.
96.
All right, Mana Talk. Yeah, did Tulsi make October and November's debate? And is this for sure? Yeah, we talked about that. So she did. Gaillard, very repetitive and very
Consistent.
Consistent. Yeah, that's not the word I was going for. I was going for very appreciative. There we go.
Yeah.
Very appreciative for you, Gaillard. Calvin, one of our callers tonight. Great show. Keep it up. We appreciate that, Calvin. And everybody that made it out for tonight's show. I know we went a little bit long. That was his fault. He knew. I had some triggers.
That was open a big can of worms,
exactly.
man.
There was a trigger. And
Yeah,
just flick that damn thing, and that's what happened.
Calvin, that name, I don't know why I'm just focused on names today. Calvin, that reminds me of a couple of things.
227.
227.
Yeah.
Calvin?
Yeah.
Calvin. What was that, Pearl?
Was it? Yeah, it was Pearl. It was
Calvin?
Pearl.
And also reminds me of those old McDonald's commercials. Remember Calvin Gets a Job? It was, yeah.
I don't know.
Dave Chappelle did a skit on it, which reminds me of Dave Chappelle's skit. So Calvin, the name reminds me of the old McDonald's commercials.
I don't know.
They were trying to reach out to the...
Have you ever met a Calvin? I don't know if I've ever met a Calvin.
Kevin, yes. Calvin, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think I've ever personally met
Kelvin.
a Calvin. I met, yes.
Yeah, we met a Calvin. Calvin. I don't think I've ever met a Calvin.
Yeah, did we even go to school? Do you remember a Calvin when we were in school? All the way up from Dutch Fork Elementary?
Not once.
That's weird, man.
Not once. All right. Another special shout out to all of our patrons on patreon.com. Thank you. Being a lifeblood of LTMB. Consistent support each and every month. We can't thank you enough for what you do for us. And again, everybody in the chat section, everybody just laying back and, taking it in. If you, involve yourself in that, we appreciate you being here. We will be back on Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I assume we will have some analysis on the testimony provided by McGuire. He's due to testify before the House Intelligence Committee, the Director of National Intelligence. Is he going to fork over?
According to what the law said?
Yeah, the whistleblower complaint. Is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it? That's, like I said, that's the biggest question from now until Thursday. Is McGuire going to hand over the whistleblower complaint? That is the biggest question. So
our train remembers it. Calvin got a job. Chappelle show, yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, you smell like French fries. I remember that.
I missed that. But yeah, we appreciate everybody here, and we hope that you join us for our Thursday show. Can't promise it won't be this long, especially if Mike says something about.
I mean, hey, I didn't force her to say it.
She put it right in front of my face.
But I was gonna put it right in front of your face at some point. I didn't want to hold on to it, man. It was right there. It came up. I was looking for news, information, that show was going on. It came up. I thought it was my duty.
Alvin thinks, he said Tulsi could take out Warren in 30 seconds like she did to Kamala.
See now you on some like now you on some super
stage.
Yeah, now you on some superhero level stuff. Like you on some like Rambo taking out 30, 50 mercenaries by sneaking up behind them, like type of stuff.
Warren is smart, man. Warren is smart, and not only is Warren smart, she knows how to speak like a progressive. Now, is she actually going to be a progressive if she's the president of the United States? That's just another question. But she knows how to speak like a progressive. She knows how to defend progressive positions. She's a very good debater as well. Very good debater. You can't hit her for not being a great debater. She is. Just like Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was very skilled at the game of debate, no doubt. Now, she had awful positions. She had worse positions than Elizabeth Warren, so she looked worse. But still, I don't think that what could Tulsi even point to? What could she say about Warren? What could she say? She could point to the money issue.
That's about it. But will it be enough to bring her down?
Would that be enough?
What'd you say? Take her down?
Take her down.
I don't think so. I don't think that would be enough.
She couldn't point to the Medicare for All thing because Tulsi is kind of questionable on what Medicare for All too. So the only thing I see
is the, I guess,
unilateral disarmament.
Unilateral disarmament, where she gets her funding, and maybe the other question about defense funding, maybe. But other than that,
you know what I am still mad about though? We've had 3 debates, and Joe Biden showing up for Fred Upton in Michigan, the Republican, still has not come up yet.
Still hasn't come up, yeah.
Are you doing your research? Anybody, are you doing your research?
I don't think it's a matter of research on whether they are doing it. I think it's a matter of protecting Joe Biden. So.
No. I'm talking about the other candidates.
Oh, true that.
How have you not found the moment to, now Kirsten Gillibrand is not in the race anymore. But you remember, she found the opportunity to try to hit Joe Biden with a fallacy.
It was dumb.
Like she made some stuff up. Really. I mean, it was completely disingenuous. So if she could do that, why couldn't you pick out some real stuff that just happened in October of last year? Why can't you point to that where he actually went to Michigan? stood up on a stage at a rally for Fred Upton, the far-right Fred Upton. Nobody has brought that out yet. That's amazing.
I give credit to Tosi for kind of, hanging some people out to dry, especially Tim Ryan.
Is Ryan still in the race? I don't think he dropped out yet.
I don't think he dropped out yet. I looked on the list.
Weird.
When I saw that list, I was reading off of, I think I saw his name. And Kamala. And to be honest, like, those people weren't doing good anyway.
That's true.
To be honest, I'm like, I'm going to give credit where credit is due as far as looking at that particular moment as a good moment for her and a bad moment for them, like Tim Ryan and Kamala Harris. But am I going to sit there and say it destroyed their campaign? They weren't doing that well. It's like she beat an unranked team. Yeah. She beat an unranked team. That was like 0-10. Yeah, she beat an unranked team that was 0-10, winless. So, like, was Tim Ryan really like a viable candidate? Tim Ryan looked like the dork the whole time.
Tim Ryan is still in the race. Steve Bullock is still in the race. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting the other guy's name, man.
Hickenlooper?
No, he's out.
He's out.
Mahoney? Not Mahoney. Is it an M? The weird, just completely unnatural guy, man. Bald head. Maloney. No.
Delaney.
See, I keep saying Maloney.
Maloney, Delaney.
John Delaney, man. He's still in.
Why? Why? Why are these...
That's amazing that he's still in.
Amazing. I know. Amazing.
I haven't heard anything from John Delaney.
That smile, man. That pasted on smile, man. Camera?
Oh, man. I wish he would qualify, man.
Because all he would do is contribute to the meme industry.
Oh, gosh.
The meme, that's all he would contribute to the meme industry.
I wish he would. Just for my entertainment, I wish he would qualify, man. But I don't know if there's enough people out there.
Yeah, I know.
They would lose money. You only got to give $1.
Yeah, I know.
For entertainment? Can you afford $1 for entertainment? All right. Enough fun. We're out of here, all right? We'll be back on Thursday. Tim is like a dingleberry, just clings on. It won't go away. What is this?
I don't know what kind of dookie you got coming out you.
I'm saying.
That ain't ever going away. It ain't falling off, bro. You need to check your diet. Dingleberry ain't going away, Jordan. You had experience with dingleberries not going away, bro? Jordan, talk to me.
You went deep on that.
I know, right? For no reason.
All right, everybody. Oh, just to remind everybody again, this is international. Well, not international. This is the national, voter registration day. So definitely get registered if you are not already. Go to vote411.org if you don't know if you're registered. You need some details about getting registered. You need some dates about how much time you have to do so. A lot of good information out there. All right. So till next time, peace out. Good night. See you in a couple days.
Thursday.